on radio. She sent me the clip of her discussion on radio, and she said Daddy was recording it back home. And so by the time she left the studio and came home, everything she said on studio was recorded. And that's the kind of support that patients, spousal support is very, very important. To help her, I'm also congratulating Daddy. Thank you very much. Now, Breckham established was founded and what we do in Breckham, we are the thing couldn't shout during treatment. Number one was our two is body and research, and these are the 4 pillars of our operation. Now, awareness creation is very key. This people because she will tell you, I have been there. Everything they are telling you today, perhaps they told me more than that. Whatever doubts you are sharing, I have it. I once had it. These and these were the ways that I overcame them. And if I can do that, then you can also do that. So we try to bring patients to interface with survivors where when they start working their journey, we visit them at home. We also work with their spouses because it is very important. Let me tell you, if you are here and you're a survivor and you had that spousal support, you don't know how lucky you are. Trust me. We've seen husbands abandon their wives. I know of a woman, they practically ostracized offended one extraterrestrial power. So she should go and look for who she offended. Now, that psychological trauma alone is enough to kill her, aside the disease. So at some point, you may have to treat the disease while also working with the mind. I mean, Dr. Michael can speak more because we had a patient, a little girl of around 16 at that time, who had triple mastectomy. She had the 2 breasts were removed and another extra lump growing at the armpit was removed. It was something that traumatized her. She was the first in her village and so on. Now, beyond the treatment that we offered her, we had to bring in Dr. Michael, courtesy of our vice chairperson at that time, to also speak to her, to reintegrate her into the society that she's going to meet under a different circumstances. She's going back to them differently. Whether we like it or not, something has been removed from her body. She's not exactly like the next girl she's going to see on the street. They might try to mock her. They might try to make fun of her. But then what will sustain her at that period is what she has at the back of her mind, of who she is, embracing her new body and all that. And he did a wonderful job. So eventually the girl is back and she's doing fine. If you see her pictures, you won't even know that, she has that condition. So that's why what we are doing here today is very, very, very important. So we'll keep on having these conversations. We'll keep on having these meetings. And I want to encourage you, Ma, to do more. They will say the reward for a job well done is what? More work. So I will encourage you to do more. And at Beacon, I can also assure you that we'll be here to walk the journey with you as long as you want us to be. We'll be there to provide whatever technical support. I'm your guy anytime, any day. So I'll be there to work with you. And my wonderful team, they're also there. We have our programs officer and financial secretary. They're all there and they came with me this morning. So we'll be here to work with you. And anybody here who also wants Brecan to partner in awareness creation, you want to do screening and you want us to put all those things together, then we'll tell you. For that of screening, we will tell you that terms and conditions apply. We will discuss that later, because we don't just screen without, having certain procedures in place of what happens when you screen people and they present positive. What should we do from there? So it's not just about screening, but awareness creation, and we do all these things absolutely free of charge, because that is our mission, to give hope and save lives. So I encourage every one of us today, join us in the fight, be an advocate. Knowing that it exists is not enough. You must take action, do the right things, embrace healthy living, go for checkups from time to time, find out what you are dealing with. Do not self-medicate. And when you need help, you seek for help. And my prayer is that as we are doing these little things, from our own human points of view, that the Almighty God will also be there with us spiritually. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Promise. Let's put our hands together once again for him. I think you've set a very beautiful tone for today's, program, our Fireside Chat. I think even the tone of your voice is soothing, and we're here for a very intimate session. The theme of this morning's program is an emotional war on breast cancer, a fireside chat. When we hear fireside chat, it's very Western. We didn't grow up by firesides. So sometimes people don't really get a picture, a visual. Think of your balcony or your veranda and having a chat with your friends, your relatives. It's small, it's cozy. So don't worry about the fact that right now, it feels like the numbers are few, we're just few. We're starting on a very good note. It's a cozy chat today. It's not formal at all. And on that note, can I ask us, I know that some of us are used to coming for programs in this hall, but this is a different themed program. Let's create that cozy atmosphere, even with our sitting arrangement. So let's come together. Let's come together. If you don't mind, let's come forward. Let's come, form the circle. Let's just make it cozy, even how we sit. Auntie Diami, good morning. I saw your car when I came in. Saturday is usually a drama-filled morning, sometimes in some homes. I've had my share of it this morning, and I'm so grateful to God. I was trying to get here 15 minutes before the start, and then my mother fell. And that just changed my agenda for the morning. But I thank God she's well. There's somebody now who's watching her. And I'm assuming that sometimes some, disruptions or unplanned events may have caused delays for some people. So they will come. They're on their way. And when they come, they will join us. So it's important for us to set the tone for the conversation that we're going to be having this morning. We have a program, but we have to be adaptive this morning because we can't launch into the talk, obviously, at the moment. We're still waiting for our other guests. I'd like us to start by sharing very briefly, we'll go around the hall, for those who are willing to, why you felt you should come. I know many of us, just by the influence of Auntie AJ are here. But is there any other, thinking behind your coming for this cancer symposium? No, it's not even the resilience, Auntie AJ, not the resilience wall yet. So when you heard the invitation, besides the fact that Auntie AJ is a mentor to us, a strong influence, a role model, and we want to support whatever initiatives she's running. The theme, the topic, cancer. Did we have any special reason when we consider this, topic of cancer, for also being curious enough to find our way here? Maybe we can go around and just hear some people's thoughts, so that we also know the expectations you brought into this meeting. And we're hoping that we'll ensure the conversations are enriching enough to cover those expectations. And I can start. I've always, besides interacting with Auntie AJ, I think Auntie AJ is the closest contact I've had with cancer. I don't have any direct relative who has gone through the journey. I've heard of course, you don't live to be this age without hearing about it. And in recent times, I think, because of the work of people like Auntie AJ who are trying to demystify, we're hearing it even more. So for me, and then recently diagnosed with cancer, she, we thank God, has also experienced a miraculous recovery. But that she went to visit her daughter in the US, and then they just went for one random, test, only for them to tell her she has stage. It was really and she was saying, oh no, because she's very strong in the church. So she was saying she's coming back. Oh, of course, you're welcome to do, but I want to let you know that if you don't take any steps that I'm recommending, in 4 months, you'll be dead. That's what he said to her. And that was when her daughter heard that one. Everybody looked at her, mommy, this English you are speaking. So a trip that was supposed to be 3 months, she ended up staying in the US for, I think she was there for about 8 months. A very protracted stay. But we thank God she came back home alive and kicking. So that's the closest my family has had. My mother also once had a friend who was in a very advanced stage of cancer and was coming for care in UCH. And I remember she stayed with us at that time when she came. But sometimes, and I'll be honest, you want to keep a distance between yourself and some of these ailments because you just feel like maybe there's some law of attraction at work. If you come too close, you might be inviting it. At least that's the way I've always like, let's just have a healthy distance, between ourselves. But I just realized that that's playing the ostrich. When I listened to Auntie AJ's radio, interview, I just saw that the power of information sometimes lies between, us and a coffin. Just some random room you walk into that gives you some information may just help save your life. Playing the ostrich, just, not wanting to hear anything about an ailment that is around is not a healthy approach. So nowadays I tell myself, come to spaces where these conversations are happening, the least you will get out of it is more information. That's the very least. Other opportunities there are contacts with even experts in those rooms, so that if there's a crisis, even if not for yourself, somebody you know you care about, you will have a phone number or or you will know somebody that knows somebody, and you can say, "Whoa, please, how can we get closer to help?" So there are many benefits. So that's why I just told myself, I will come for things like this. Besides all the other reasons I talked about, I'll come for things like this. So I was thinking that while we're waiting for more arrivals, okay, one person is here. Auntie AJ is here, yes. Dr. Michaels is here. Big ups to Dr. Michaels, by the way. We're always happy to see you, and thank you for always supporting whatever we're doing. And I'll read their speaker profiles soon. So, but we have another activity we planned, but maybe one or two people who are willing, can you just share with us, why are you here for this fireside chat? What drove you to come here? What's your own compelling reason? Auntie BME wants to share. Yes, ma. Okay, there's a mic there.
Thank you very much. You just got me thinking as you were speaking, and of course, apart from the obvious, anything my darling sister AJ is doing, I will just be there. Whatever if she's working on her head, I'll stand beside her and work on my head. So that's the number one reason I'm here. But you see, I've realized that a lot of things, evil, bad things, first of all, they're egregious. Evil is never, polite and kind and nice, and it's always in your face. I think about things like that is that they thrive in darkness. And what is darkness? Lack of information. So I see that a lot of people are so frightened of cancer. You only need to say the word. Half of the time when people receive the diagnosis, I believe that it's the fear that sort of like weakens them and doesn't even let them survive for much longer. You see people, they're okay, basically, and then they give them a diagnosis, and in 4 or 5 months, they're gone. But I've also realized that those that arm themselves with information, arm themselves with the right kind of, I'm not going down. If I'm going down, I'm not going down without a fight. They last much longer. I know someone that thought, she developed cancer, and she was quite young. Her kids, of course, were very young. And she said to herself that if she allowed this thing, her children would not remember her after her. So she wrestled and she had maybe a decade or two after that, or a lot more time than she would have had if she just left it. So I see that there's a need for information. There's a need for support. There's a need to have it demystified. It's like Pastor AJ said, if you can say that I came down with malaria, why can't you say I came down with cancer? So you see, we must take the power out of the hands of things like cancer to scare us, because fear is such an incapacitator, for lack of a better word. So I'm just going to be part of anything that is helping people to get beyond the fear, make up their minds to live, and whatever. For me, it's not how long you live. Jesus lived 33 years. 2,000 years later, there's nobody that has impacted the world like he has, and there will never be anybody. So it isn't the length of time, it's the quality. So if I have work to do, and I know I have work to do, I can't give up. Whatever time I have, I can salvage, or whatever more time I can live, so that I can do that work, not just living for living's sake. So, if you leave me in the mic, I can talk till tomorrow morning. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Biami. It's so true. Fear is really an incapacitator in life, and it thrives in ignorance. It does. So if all we're doing is shining a spotlight, beaming the light on this evil called cancer, and pushing more knowledge into the environment, then we're really, really attacking the enemy of fear, which, is an environment that allows the disease to grow rapidly. And Mr. Promise, I heard him when he said that, look, this disease, affects everyone. children. My friend, I just remembered, my friend, when her daughter was 7, her daughter was diagnosed with cancer, and it changed their life. They spent the next 1 year and 3 months in Luth at the Children's Oncology Center, LASU rather, struggling for that child to live. This is a little girl. Where did he come from? But to your point, I remember I was in a conversation with somebody, and I mentioned someone I know who was, who's treating herself with cancer. She said, "Oh, cancer is toxins. It's toxins, So I just imagine her lifestyle." And so there's a lot of judgment also, which contributes to the stigma. That's why somebody will want to hide, because they are expecting people to begin to diagnose their lifestyles and say, it's because you did this, it's because you did that, or it's extraterrestrial spirits, as you mentioned. What toxins did that little girl go and build up? What lifestyle has she formed? So this will also help us, apart from the fact that we'll be agents of information out there, we can self-examine. To what extent do we contribute to reinforcing these bad, beliefs that make people hide in shame for something that they're helpless against, just as we're helpless against malaria? In fact, most times it's our irresponsibility in many cases that even brings malaria, putting ourselves under mosquito-treated nets. So we should even be more ashamed of malaria, actually, than even cancer.
Someone and she just explained everything the program was about, and for me it seems like I just have to be here, because that's like part of the things I've been all about for a few decades now. And my focus is not the should I call it biomedical care, in terms of the chemo and the radio and all of those medical care for cancer, but focus on the psychosocial aspects of cancer, and letting others know that the diagnosis, number one, is not the end. There are other things beyond just the medication that we need to thrive and to survive, in this cancer journey, no matter what it is. People have survived cancer. And so just change that narrative of cancer being a death sentence to being cancer as a chronic disease that we need to learn to live with. Despite the disease, we can still function adequately and fulfill as much of our dreams as God has given us the permission to. That is why I am here.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you. As you were speaking, I said, I've seen this face, and I know I haven't seen it live. So it was your picture on your bio. So that's why I opened my phone. I wasn't being rude. So one of our other speakers is here. I'll read their profiles after, but thank you. I think your expectations, your reasons for being here have also set a good tone for us as we move further in today's very intimate fireside/balcony conversation. So you're very welcome once again. We want to do a brief exercise. It's reflective. We call it our resilience wall. Auntie AJ, I'll need your help so that I can, moderate them while Auntie AJ is doing the secretarial aspect of it. We want to create a word cloud / words for our resilience wall, so that when you're leaving, you can go away with, these words reverberating in your mind. For every person in this room, when you encounter the word cancer, when you hear it, when you think of it, whatever, what immediate word comes to your mind? What immediate word? What resounding word? Or maybe more than one, but what's the most recurring? We want to go around the room. And you can just, shout it actually. You can just, I think it's small enough that we'll hear you. We're going to record these words and come up with the word cloud. And these words will form our resilience wall so that we can reflect on it after the program in our private, spaces, and strengthen our inner resolve and resilience as we navigate a life where cancer exists. So we can start. What word immediately comes to your mind? Sister Auntie, you're smiling, you have your word?
Death.
Okay.
I should say it again.
Yes, go again.
Death.
Death. Death. Ha! I love it. That's how it's an exclamation. Ha! And you can pack a lot of meaning into that. Okay?
Kilo de.
Kilo de. Why? There's one here. Why? Until you're able to get all of them. Okay?
Jesus.
Jesus. Jesus.
And illness.
And illness. And illness. Hey, these are the these ones have deep. What did you say? Oh, your first mommy, I didn't hear you. Okay, Sister Auntie, yours again. Death sentence. So we're going to clear all those myths today.
Hope.
Hope. Hope. Mr. Promise says hope.
Why me?
Why me? Why me? Why me? Your word, ma. You're still thinking? Okay.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Happy.
Happy. Ah, we're going to unpack that, ma.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my God. My own, I don't think my own is a word. My own is a feeling, is a sensation. It's okay, dread, yeah. Because I always think of going back to boarding school. There's always a feeling when I was in secondary school.
I don't have the English word. Agbano. There's this like financial gulping.
We will put it in Yoruba now. Agbano. So that's his own. My own is just that sinking feeling in the pit of my belly, as if I'm going back to boarding school. Trepidation. I think that's even. It's close to to that sinking feeling for me. Agbano. I really like that. Trepidation. Have we got around? Yusuf, tell us your own now. Ha. So we are two ha's in the room. Media team, you can tell us. Shout yours too. Oh no, chemotherapy. So that's like Agbano, like hey, chemotherapy. Gentleman. Why me? Mr. Cameraman. Shout yours. Mogbe. Mogbe. Pastor, do you have any? Do you have any word? Faith. Hey. Okay, it has to be too, so. Faith. Okay, so I think that covers everyone in the room. So we have our word cloud. And all of this, I really love the ha. That's my own bias because it's like that's the instinct, like, yeah. Oh my God. You tell us this meaning behind happy. Before, Auntie AJ, can we just take a second? Because I can understand why people like Mr. Promise will have hope. People like Dr. Michaels will say it's a disease. You know, these people have all the information so they can come at it objectively. Ma, maybe because I don't know your bio, tell me why you, of all the strange words that come to your mind, happy. Happy. How in the world can that be your reaction? Can we give her?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Iwala Derimi. I am, let me use Mr. Promise's word. Yes, I am a 6-year and counting breast cancer survivor.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you. So the word, like you say, was more of a feeling.
Oh.
It was the first feeling I had when I was told of my own diagnosis. You see, I love suya and gari a lot. So the day I was told, I had told my brother to get it for me. So he brought it with the diagnosis. So when he told me, it didn't sink in. I was just so happy that my suya is here. And down the line, I can probably say that was my feeling all through. I've known a lot of people that died from me. So I was more happy that I was told that if you do this and this and this, you'll be okay. So my feeling has always been happy. And then when they tell me, you will come and speak to this person, she doesn't want to take treatment, she doesn't want to do this, I'm always happy, like, okay, one more opportunity to save a life. So my word has always been happy. Always.
Oh, let's put our hands together for her. And you give us hope. People like you give us hope, you know, because then we have images before us of the evidence they are telling us that it's not a death sentence. It's not you are, like, if I go away, I have that lasting visual. And I didn't recognize you because your picture is so different. Your hairstyle was different. But just listening to you, because I was curious about you and I was looking forward to meeting you. So here we have it. Okay, it was showing on the screen a couple of minutes ago. So this is it. This is it. This humanizes, it shows us as human beings coming in contact with this disease. This is who we are. And this is a cozy session, so we're vulnerable enough to be honest, to tell our truth. And I'm happy that we've really revealed our innermost thoughts. And this, as you can largely see, indicate that it's fear, you know. We engage this disease from a place of fear, from a place of, you know, it intimidates us. That's the truth. So today is one warfare, and I think that looking at this, your theme is so accurate, you know, because how do we overcome these kinds of feelings? Comes from waging a direct war against them, or a counter-attack. If we don't want to think of war, a counter-attack. Leave us. I think that maybe if you have a way to that, perfect. So if you registered, what we can do with it is from time to time, open it up and take a look and examine your current state of mind regarding this ailment. Are you still approaching it from how you were as at this morning in your reflections or in your mindset around it? Examining, it says your emotional. Remember, today is all about our emotional state of being. So it will tell you, so you can use this as a tool to examine your emotional state of being from a place of agbano or ye or ha. Another disease, malaria today, okay. Or, do you know, so use this as a tool for your reflections, thinking about this very reflective example. On that note, let me now hear. So we might as well go into the session. Our first speaker, who had the most contrarian word, but now we understand the foundations behind it, is Miss Iwalade, Mrs. Iwalade. Iwalade, the name is Longo. Iwalade Orimi. Wow, that's a beautiful name. Yeah, there's your parents are either poets or very philosophical. Iwalade Orimi. So, Iwalade Orimi is a socialpreneur and a creative education consultant. She believes that a productive world allows them to have a voice. And I see why we resonate, why we vibe. Iwalade runs a crafts initiative called Creative Iwa. Handmade souvenirs and handmade home decor from materials that are readily available around us. Okay. Creative online classes for children and young adults, where she brings arts and crafts Iwalade has over 10 years of experience as a school teacher administrator, and school matron, where she encouraged children and teenagers to express themselves fully in a safe and gentle way to maximize their. What is not written here is what she shared with us, that she's a cancer survivor, 6 years and counting. So that's the thing about bios. They don't tell the full, scope of the individual. Oh, it's actually here, but it doesn't tell me the number of years. But she's a breast cancer survivor. And we're excited she's here because she just epitomizes hope in a situation of fear-filled, our fear-filled minds. There's a lot about her, but she says that if she would like to be known and remembered for anything, she wants it to be for how many people she was able to impact and empower, and to share her immense joy and hope with through her resilience, her life, her smile, her words, and her strength. This is clearly a very purpose-filled individual. Let's put our hands together for her. So she's one of the speakers who will guide us into today's conversation. And I think with people like her, she's very soulful. She's tapped into her inner self, and that's how she introduces herself to the world. So there are people like this are very good to guide us in conversations like this, and we're excited to have you this morning. I'll move on to our next speaker, who is a friend of the house. He supported us in a lot of mental health discussions, mental health initiatives, mental health reflections as a church. And this conversation is it's sort of a spin-off from a lot of faith-based conversations we've had in the church in there. So he's not a stranger to us by any means, but in case there are guests visiting, it's also good to introduce Dr. Michaels once again, who is a medical doctor with an interest in interventional talking therapy. He's the medical director of Quantum Leap Consulting, a mental health service provider that helps people deal with their life's challenges so that they do not degenerate into mental health disorders like depression, disorders, or physical health issues like hypertension. He's somebody who, listening to him a couple of weeks ago, for the first time, broke down the implications of trauma not dealt with. Either trauma from childhood, trauma from marriages, trauma from work, and how these things leave invisible scars that oftentimes regulate our lives. He simplifies these conversations in a way that you and I can digest so easily. And again, he makes himself available for follow-up conversations and for real help. And he comes at mental health from a faith-based position. So all of us in the Christian community, we can find, a basis for some of our beliefs, and he can guide these beliefs, with more medical intelligence so that we arrive at healthier outcomes, mentally and physically. So let's put our hands together for him. He always sacrifices his time to be with us. Thank you, Dr. Michaels. I'm again very excited about this conversation because people like him always enrich the conversations. So I'll move on to our third speaker on the lineup. And he's very accomplished, so I didn't read many of his accomplishments, but just check his profile. He's very active on social media, which means he's the bridge also to the younger generation. So please check him up. His profile is rich, is vast, and he can give you, recommendations on any questions you have. Dr. Toyin, is Dr. Toyin here? Not yet. She had indicated that she had a commitment that suddenly sprung up this morning. So let me wait to read hers last. But Dr. Toyin was around during the cancer symposium that we held to commemorate Auntie AJ's birthday. So some of you will remember her child, who's looking delectable in pink. And that's Dr. Elizabeth Aki Odonye. Did I get it right, ma? Please put your hands together for Dr. Elizabeth. And she shared the reason that compelled her to be here this morning. But I'll do it better. I'll give it I'll flesh it up a little bit more with this bio that I have here. So we are very privileged to have the current president of the Psycho-Oncology Society of Nigeria, Dr. Elizabeth, sitting with us today. She's a clinical psychologist. She's currently affiliated with the University College Hospital, that's UCH here in Ibadan. Her research focuses on psychosocial and behavioral dimensions of cancer, with emphasis on addressing factors that contribute to advanced stages of cancer. Fear being one of those factors, I suspect, ignorance, I suspect, and how cancer affects the overall well-being of the patients and their caregivers. She has published numerous papers in scientific journals, and she continues to, make presentations in oral presentation. She indicated earlier to demystify this disease, to give more knowledge, to share more information, to shed the light. So thank you once again for coming out on a Saturday like this to be with us for today's conversation. And finally, we have the convener herself, whose personal story she continues to use, is being used as an anchor, as a takeoff point for all of these conversations. And as you've heard, because Mr. Promise in his opening remarks said, even the radio presenters who had already settled with a guest, last minute got a surprise that I'm not coming again. There's many reasons why in a society like ours, people can bury their stories, hide it, pack layers to cover it up. There's every reason, she has every reason to pretend it never happened. But she's defiant. She's defiant. And if you listen, and I recommend that radio interview that she had. She said, look, what is this? If I can tell you that I have malaria, why in the world can't I tell you that I have cancer? And when we think about our attitude towards sharing it, revealing it, then you recognize that this indeed is a champion. And I always tell people that quiet waters, still waters, I really believe that proverb, that added that still waters run very deep. Her mien is quiet, her force is powerful. And look at this kind of convening. It's an evidence of the kind of force she wields in the world. Let me read to us so that we see her beyond Pastor AJ, in the fullness of her contributions to the world. Mrs. Ajuma Madojemu is a former director at the Central Bank of Nigeria, where she most recently served as the branch controller until 2023. We know when she retired, at least members of TVN will know when she retired, and she rose to the position of director at the point of retirement. She has over 3 decades of experience in leadership and development and organizational development. Ajuma successfully led a team of 94 staff, that's a huge team, while serving as the governor's representative at the state level. She's an ICF certified coach and an alumnus of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, New York. She combines her, no wonder you love food, the food channel. Yes. She combines her executive leadership experience with her passion for coaching and mentoring. She holds a master's degree in international, sorry, when you're using a phone, some things pop up. In international relations from the University of Ibadan, and a bachelor's degree in education. She has completed executive education programs at prestigious institutions, including the Lagos Business School, Crown's Agents in the United Kingdom, Harvard Kennedy School, and Cornell University. I love the program at Cornell. For her strength in adaptive leadership and organizational transformation, Ajuma dedicated her career in the next generation of leaders, coaching, mentoring, and convener of today's discussion, AJ, Mrs. Ajuma Madojemu. She is a cancer survivor. She's a champion now of cancer-related knowledge advocacy, and she's bravely fighting ignorance, fear, and stigma in the space of this disease. So we celebrate you, we love you, we are excited about the growth of this initiative, and we're happy to form the early community around these conversations. So, having read the profile of our amazing speakers, I think we'll dive right into the first segment of today. And we're all eager. I hope you came with your notes so that you can also listen. And I'd like to greet especially some of our guests. Good morning, Ma. I don't see you regularly in the church, so I know you're a guest. Obviously, you're a friend of Auntie AJ's. But for any of you who isn't a member of TBN and you're here, please, special greetings to you. Thank you for coming for whatever reason, your friendship ties with Auntie AJ. Thank you, sir. I also don't see you regularly in the church. I don't know if that's me, but thank you for being here, sir. And thank you to all the members of TBN who always come out in our numbers to support initiatives like this and to be part of learning. So now, we're going to move into the first. So this first segment is the presentations from our speakers. Yes, and they will in 15 minutes each. So we had to do some adapting in the beginning. So which means that time-wise, we padded the first part so much, and now we have to be very efficient in the use of the second aspect of this program. We're going to hear directly from our speakers. I don't see here an order in which we can start with Dr. Michaels. Perfect. Okay, so we will begin with the expert in the house, or one of the experts in the house, Dr. Michaels, who's a mental health expert. Put your hands together for him. Drum rolls. There's no drummer, so drum rolls. And he's very efficient in the use of time. Sorry, we're always rushing you, but welcome, sir.
Hi. Okay. You're welcome, ma. And Professor Gubi, my mother's boss, is also here. So Ibadan is always a very small place. And then Mr. Promise, so glad to hear about the improvements that the other lady made. I'm Dr. Michaels, and I'm a medical doctor with interest in interventional talking therapy. Interventional because the source of every problem has or is related to our personality. So this was how it started. 20 years ago, I was in 200 level medicine. Around December, I just crossed from biochemistry into medicine. So I lost a year. And around 6 a.m., I was in the kitchen preparing for 8 a.m. lecture. We usually spend the whole day. And that was what we did for 7-8 years. So while I just finished reading something. So while I was thinking of what I read, something crossed my mind. It was just a one-liner. And that one-liner changed my life forever. And I'm yet to recover from that one-liner. I don't know how a one-liner, just a statement, can change someone's life. It's so amazing. And it came from me, not that I heard it from somewhere else. And that one-liner happens to be, you are the architect of your destiny. I have never heard that before in my life. So it was I was in 500 level. I had a lot of trouble in my medical school. So I repeated pediatrics ONG. It's supposed to be like 2 years. So I repeated the class. That's like 4 years in one class. So I was to drop out if it happens, I happen to fail. My mother does not know. Please don't tell her. So I was, if I end up not passing, I would fail. But I was very good, very, very intelligent. I was just failing, and I couldn't explain why. So that exam, we weren't supposed to write our names, just our matric numbers. So I don't know what happened, and that has never happened before. I dropped, and once you drop, there's this unwritten law or something, as I heard, that once you drop your paper, you can't pick it up again. Medical school is just one funny place like that. So immediately I dropped my exam note. It just occurred to me, I did not write my matric number. You know when you're in trouble. I was in trouble because that was my last chance to be in a medical school. Instantly, immediately, I heard something in my ear. go back to your seat. Don't leave the hall. Sit down and use your mind to rewrite your matric number. Real life. It happened to me. But you know when you are in trouble, any slight hope, you just grab it. So I was in serious trouble. And I was already in my 30s, probably 30 years old. So I went back to my seat. It was very clear, and then I sat down. And I did something I have never done before in my life. I've never heard anybody do it. I sat down and I used my mind to rewrite. When I was done, how did I rewrite it? Is that not the first time so I just pictured it, I imagined it. When I was done, something happened to me. I was very happy. As if, like the happiness of someone who wrote the matric number. So when I was done, I left the hall. The nurses, it was theory, clinical should follow after. So some people asked me how was the exam. I said it was very fine. Now I was not applying faith. It was real life, like as if I wrote my matric number. It was very fine. Then I did the clinicals, but can you pass an exam when the theory is affected? You can't just use clinicals to pass. So after your professional exam, you start hearing stories. 100 people failed. 100 people will repeat. Your heart will start beating. I don't know if they actually planned it that way, but I did not say one word. I did not tell anybody that this was what happened. So the day the result was going to be released, we were supposed to also have a lecture in the next class. The way they do it in medicals, you'll be in the next class, but you have not heard the result of oh God, medical school. So your heart just be leaping like, please just release this video so I will know if I belong to this class. So I kept on going to the new class. Then it was in Ogun State University. So when I got to a particular wall, I heard, don't go beyond that wall. Go back to your room. So I didn't know what was happening. I felt I was the one speaking to myself. But I wanted to be sure because it was very direct and very loud. So I started playing with patients, children. I did not go beyond that wall. So I started playing because Mrs. Adewale is at home. She was a child too. So I started playing with parents and the rest like that. And while I was playing with patients and playing with children, I was checking my mind like, don't go beyond the wall. Go back to your room. So when I was sure that no, this thing is like real, I heard something, and this something is real. So I went back to my room, my house. When I got to my house and I closed the door, immediately I closed the door, I prayed in tongues for 1 hour. Or I prayed to God for 1 hour. When I was done, I came back to school for my lecture to start at 2. And then I met a former classmate of mine, because I repeated, he's now my senior. And he now said, they had one meeting. Like rumors are always flying during, I don't know if you guys enjoy those rumors, like rumors fly out. So they had one meeting, and one woman said, this person must fail. I don't know if that's happened to you before. You just know that you are the one. Instantly, I knew I was the one they were talking about. Then they now said in that meeting, somebody said, no, this person must pass. that was when I knew I had passed the exam. So then by 2 o'clock or thereabout, they released the result. Our result is usually, is that your name is there or is not there? No, not name. Matric number. So when I went to the matric number, of course, I'm used to matric, the board. I failed several times. So there's no big deal. It was only the first time I failed that I cried. They carried me home. The next time, nobody carried everybody. Everybody remained on their own. You look at, very traumatic experience. Never knew I was going to do something different, something unconventional. It takes a lot of that kind of experience to be able to stand before you right now and to be able to tell you that you can create the kind of life you want and that you are your destiny and what you want your life to be, what it will be. And your current status, your current state is a reflection of what your mind was yesterday. And if you want a better tomorrow, you can change what is in your mind. And apparently, imagination is very free. So, I went to the board and then I saw my matric number. When I saw my matric number, the hall where we had the exam was very close. I have never cried like that before. I went to that hall, I sat down, and I started sobbing. I think sobbing is different from crying. I think sobbing is like I didn't even have a girlfriend, so I sat down there alone in the hall and I started sobbing, crying. The memories were coming because I knew how I passed. And that was how I was able to enter the final year with confidence. In this part of the world, people think of mental health as madness, psychosis, and the rest. 7 years ago, I told myself that I think I understand how mental health works, especially from my own personal experience. Because I witnessed my father beat my mother at the age of 4. So I had psychological trauma. I celebrated my 43rd birthday some days ago. Yes, I know I don't look it. But for 38 years, I don't know, I don't have an understanding of how it feels like to have a father in the house. And then there was nothing like talking therapy or psychotherapy. I think I did well till primary school, and in primary school my academic performances kept on reducing. But I knew I was intelligent, but I was a shadow of myself. And that statement that you are the architect of your destiny that I heard in my room or in my kitchen 6 a.m. December 2004 at Ikene House transformed my life forever. Because it was then I knew that I had the chance to decide how my life should go. Mental health has 4 components: thoughts, emotions, words, and action. You cannot tell me that these 4 don't have power, because it was after that practical experience that I started hearing about it. So what I was hearing I was not hearing theory. I was hearing, oh, okay. So what I did in that hall was to use my mental health to rewrite. So that was possible. And then I kept my mouth shut, so my words were compliant with what I wanted. And my emotions were, when the rumors were flying that 10 people will fail, 10 people, 100 people, my emotions were stable. And the spiritual component stabilizes our mental health. And the purpose of spiritual growth is to stabilize our mental health. And then our mental health will stabilize our physical body. The basis of physical health is compromised. And that's stress. Is stress not mental health? So mental health is the basis of physical health. And our bodies respond to our minds. Our mental health comprises the mind and our emotions, thoughts. Now, our emotions are so powerful that they create a certain field around us that determines who comes into our space. People sense it so much that what they say is what we have thought of before. Nobody says to us what we have not thought of before. I don't know why I'm saying this to you. I don't know why I'm saying it. We know why you are saying it. We now know. It's a field. You can sense it. We all have 3 eyes. 2 are physical. The other is invisible. You might not know that you are sensing the field. For those of us who are practitioners in this field, we know what you are sensing. So I can make you say what I want you to say by conditioning and programming my mind consistently. And our bodies respond to our mental health. Our mental health respond to our spirits. And God can enter into our spirit and indirectly affect our mental health. You are the chief executive officer of your life. I remember when I started writing this 2018, people started attacking me, but I don't care. I'm a medical doctor today because of what I'm talking about. And this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life till I'm 95 years old. So, God, listening carefully, because I felt that responsibility will be too much for us to carry. As a round off, having a mental health plan can literally take a year to have to build up. What I just said in few minutes, I can take a whole year to break it down, just to give a summary. But what I want to achieve today is our people do not know how powerful our thoughts, our emotions, our words, our actions are. There is this something we notice. Medical students, by the time we get home, we have the symptoms. So I don't know if the name is official or if we're the one that came up with the name in our school or if it's a general thing. But you know, the professor said if the length of this femur is this, if it is diseased, it can be shortened or it can be affected. That day, I remember going home saying, if we can be specific about the femur, can we be that specific about life? So while I was going through medical training, I was also going through training that will be able to relate medicine with life. I want to tell you today that what you think about will become a physical reality. The emotions you have will become a physical reality. Nobody can get me angry because it repels money too and it attracts money. It attracts health and it repels it. I've had to do a lot of reconditioning concerning all the things that we have been taught in medical school so that I can reposition them well, so that I will not be a victim of what we have been taught. Because there's also information delivery. It has to be effective in such a way that it will not end up bringing the health issue that we are trying to prevent. What you say will become a physical reality, and your actions will also become a physical reality, especially if it is repeated over and over again. It moves from the conscious mind, the brain, into the subconscious mind, the seat of our belief system. I think I've been able to achieve something, maybe to just convince you that your inner conversations will soon become a physical reality? What if you start thinking about building a house? What if you start thinking about getting married? What if you stop saying 500 million naira is not possible to have? What if you start overthinking about? I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not to convince.
Supposed to be standing up in a rousing. Every time I listen to him, I just always have goosebumps, and I'm just always like soaking. I'm always staring at you, like, hey, the words that come out. I still have about quieting the noise within, and how when you quiet the noise within, you silence the noise without. For me, that was one of my major take homes from that last. And today again, I feel like what you've said is several books. When I even think about your illustration of thoughts and emotions forming a force field, that's the best-selling book, Law of Attraction, that even the science community cannot, counter in terms of knowledge that's out there. It's there's so much, and as you said, if it takes a full year to help people create a mental health plan, so what you've done is try to condense, so much knowledge, so much wisdom, virtue into this 15 minutes. Yes, you've acquitted yourself credibly, you've done very well. But what it tells us is that we need to provoke more conversations with you. We need to find more time with you, get more opportunities to just sit and learn from you. But I've tried to create a framework out of what you've said, and you made it very simple when you just said, the components of our mental health are our thoughts, emotions, our words, and our actions. And you use your personal story as a way of illustrating how all of these elements in our lives, result into the outcomes, desirable or not desirable. So you've given us a very useful framework, and the applicability of it, even in a disease like cancer, clearly, is undisputed. The power of the mind as a place to wage warfare. People to also tap into their most vulnerable moments. People like when you like that, it gives us permission to also thank you. I think we can continue, you an expert, and then but I think we can move from Dr. Michaels right to Dr. Elizabeth Odanye, another expert who looks at it also from not just the individual to the family, the psychosocial element. So let's put our hands together for her. She'll spend another 15 minutes also sharing on how to build our emotional resilience in this dealing with this disease. Thank you, ma.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Auntie AJ. I'll just take the cue from the MC for inviting me, and thank you, Dr. Michael, for that beautiful presentation. You sort of laid the foundation for whatever I'll be saying, that you made my work a little bit easier. And so I've been asked to talk on the coping strategies across the stages of the cancer journey. And we know that the cancer care continuum starts from even pre-diagnosis. Sometimes we think about diagnosis, but before the diagnosis came, there have been signs and symptoms that this individual has been experiencing. And at that point of pre-diagnosis, this patient, this person, this woman or man is afraid, is scared about what he or she is saying, especially based on whatever he or she has heard in the past on the social media. Maybe the person is even a medical personnel and knows all about cancer and the signs and symptoms. This person is scared about, who do I tell? Should I tell my spouse? Should I tell my children? Should I go this journey alone? All of that is there. And we could also have our cultural beliefs of, what I don't know wouldn't kill me, so why go screen? And by the time we do not go for further investigation and screening, if it is cancer, it is not waiting. If it is not cancer, you are suffering needlessly. And so the important thing in coping with that is, don't waste your time asking Dr. Google about your symptoms, because Dr. Google does not know who you are, and you are only intensifying the anxiety and whatever you need to do. You just tell yourself, acknowledge what the signs you are seeing in spite of the fear. So it's not to say that the anxiety is not the anxiety, and despite that anxiety, take that step to go have this check done. Now, at the point where diagnosis is being made, or when you go for this diagnosis, there is the anxiety in that period where you are waiting for the test result. But for a patient or a potential patient, when you want to go to the hospital, you don't want to go alone. Especially maybe after the tests have been done and all of that, and you want to hear the results. The typical patient, when you hear the diagnosis, cancer, every other thing blanks out. And so there's a need for a support system. And so at that period where you are still thinking, should I go for the test, should I not go, and you've made up your mind to go, then you also need a support person that would go with you for that test. Whatever you are not able to grasp, that individual will grasp it. And then there is the plan, the treatment plan, and all of that. You want to take one step at a time. You don't want to take the entire picture. You don't want to drink the entire brute of this cancer diagnosis. You don't want to gulp it. You want to take it in sips. What next? What next? And what next? Because the journey could be long. And we know that the journey of 1,000 years starts with a step. And so start with that little step. Whatever it is you need to do, just face what's before me now and do it. And there's also the place for writing out the questions you have in your mind, because sometimes when patients see the doctor or get to the healthcare setting, they've sort of like blank out and everything in the white coat or whatever. So just write out your questions. Have this conversation with whoever will be going with you to the clinic. These are the questions I want to ask. Instead of asking people that are not experts in the field, and they will confuse you and tell you, don't eat this, don't eat that, and all whatnot. Rather, ask the doctors your question. In other words, the communication with the doctor is very, very important. Doctors are called attending physicians. And so, as a patient, you want to know whether the doctor portrays that to you or not. The patient wants to know that by the time I'm before the doctor, he should give me his attention. And the patient should be bold enough to ask those questions. Whatever those questions are. What's my prognosis? I mean, what do I need to do? Do I need to seek a second opinion? And all of that. So now with the treatment also comes treatment side effects. Chemotherapy and all of that, they come with their different side effects. We need to learn how to cope with this. Dr. Michael said something about our thoughts and our expectations. And I was with a young man, maybe some 10 years ago, who was having chemo, and he had this lovely afro that he had on him. And he was saying that he was telling himself, my hair would not fall of that. And really, by the time we have his afro on, well, I'm not sure if the chemo he took could have caused him to have alopecia at that point in time. But there is a place for our thoughts, our expectations, similar to what works with placebos, right? Where people could just be given injection with just water, and then they feel better because it's our thoughts. And so we must take good care of our thoughts when we go through stuffs, especially with the treatment side effects and all of that. Now, after treatment, and it's now maybe the patient is in remission, transition to full recovery and all of that, there is still a tinge of anxiety. I mean, by the time this patient comes to the hospital, he knows he or she would have the checks and all of that. There is that comfort that the healthcare system is still there supporting. So by the time it's treatment has come to an end and this patient is out there in the community, there's still that fear. What if cancer comes back? What should I eat? What should I not eat? As much as possible, a way of coping is trying to cope with the new normal and trying to gradually reintegrate yourself into the society. During the treatment phase, there are periods where a patient feels withdrawn, either because of what they are thinking or because of what they think people are thinking. And so they feel withdrawn and they don't want to mix and mingle with others because they feel maybe other people are showing them too much pity, or they are pitying them, or they are thinking they will soon die. You should realize that all that thought at that point is you thinking and conjuring these things up. Not necessarily that is how people are thinking about you. One thing I've come to realize is that people are more passionate than we give them credit for. We as people, we are human, and we could feel, even if we may not be able to put it in words or in the proper action, the pain the other person is feeling when given a severe diagnosis, like a cancer diagnosis. And so sometimes, even when they try to offer help, they may actually not know how to help us the way we want to be helped. But it does not mean that they are mocking us. And and that brings that topic of stigma, both self-stigmatization and other stigma. And so if as a patient you are already self-stigmatizing, it's difficult to accept that others are not really stigmatizing you, because you are actually projecting your own thoughts and fears and anxiety to others and feeling like that is what they are actually doing. And so people around us may want to offer us help, support. We don't want to push the supports away. We don't want to act like we are superhumans. We need social support. A time of a cancer diagnosis or treatment is not a time to have a quarrel with your spouse, for a woman to leave the house. It's a time you want to come knitted together. Now we talk, while the MC was talking, she alluded to childhood cancer and the pain it could bring even to the family, and the trading of blames that often comes up. It's the time whenever there is cancer or any severe diagnosis for that matter, it should be something that brings us together, helps us to mend those cracks, so that we can together help whoever it is survive this and help ourselves, because it's not just the cancer patient that is affected. The family system, every member of that family is affected, and we all need help. There are times when a patient has cancer. I've seen women that would have cancer and say, I don't want my children to know. I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to feel the pain. But the truth is, when we do not tell our family members about our cancer, we're not actually doing them any favor, because we have spent time caring and loving and nurturing these children, or whoever other is within our network system. We want to ask ourselves, would I have also preferred that if this individual has a sickness like this, he or she would not let me know? So our social system is very important, and it's a very important way by which we can cope. Let's reach out to those people we know really love us and understand us and would like to support us. Sometimes we may find it difficult to judge people or anticipate how they would respond to us in our time of needs. But if you reach out to 3 and just 1 respond in a way that feels supportive, it is better than keeping to yourself. And so we need to talk to our family members, help them to give support to each other, and even as they are giving support to us. You know, there is power in name, talking about this still coping strategy. You need to find the words that help you cope. Dr. Michael talked about, you know, you are the architect of your destiny or whatever your life becomes. But you could also find coping strength in our names, especially our African names. I love the name that I had just now, you know, from the cancer survival, right? Ewalade orimi. Iwalade orimi. Iwa ewa. Those are concepts, attitudes. The kind of attitude we hold towards our cancer or whatever it is that we are passing through is very, very important. Why? Because we may not be able to choose the kind of diagnosis that we have, but we can choose our attitude towards that diagnosis. And so she said for her, it was about happiness because there was suya and gari. But for us, we could also find our attitude, maybe even in the interpretation of our names. And I love our local names. I have my local name is Toyin. And so every time I go through stuffs, I'll tell myself, the name of God needs to be glorified in whatever I am going through. And so no matter how difficult it seems to be, eventually it will end in praise. And so when we find an attitude like that, with which to face whatever is confronting us or we are confronting, then it helps us, energizes us to confront whatever it is. Something else I'd also want to talk about is finding meaning in your illness. Even maybe there is a recurrence, or perhaps you did not cross to the survivorship area and you are right now facing end of life. I always believe in the fact that there is really no such time as lost hope. That is my concept of hope, because there are times people say, what is the prognosis? So if the prognosis is end stage, then that means there is no hope. No, there is hope. There is hope for a good death. That is my perception. There is hope for a good death. And so no matter how severe or no matter how bad the prognosis is, don't shift your gaze off the hope. I was having a conversation with the father of an adolescent patient, a lovely girl, and the father loved her so much. And in our conversation, I knew the end was drawing near, but I also know that no man has the final say on how long an individual would live. But you see the telltale signs, and it's only proper to also prepare for this end. And have the hope of living in this life right now. There is the hope of eternity. How? My time is up. So how can you prepare your child? I mean, even if she was going to die, such that you know that when I think about her, I'll think about her in a better place. You know, and I got this concept also from a 6-year-old who had bilateral retinoblastoma metastasis. And this girl was telling the mom that the mom had taught her about spirituality and the love of Jesus and all of that. And so she was telling the mom, she had lost her 2 eyes. She was telling the mom that, Mom, don't you believe in Jesus again? That when I die, my legs would come back because she could no longer move and all of that. My eyes would return and I would be fine again. That was a 6-year-old telling the mom this. And so what am I saying? There is always a shade of hope, and we should never lose sight of this. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Ma. Two things. First, you're the first person I've ever encountered as a speaker who has timed herself. And I think I'll take that even as a personal tip. You know, you're so efficient. Thank you. And the depths of what you shared, so profound, because listening to you, you know, just revealing sometimes how demanding in terms of, you know, how we have to dig into depths of our soul, because this father you're describing, this mother with a 6-year-old who is going, it's a life we don't ever want to contemplate, right? And you're teaching us that hope may change its form and its face, and we need to recognize the change of the form of hope, but never giving up on hope. Wow, that's a depth of and a dimension of us as human beings that we hope we can reach, even though we pray the situations that call for them don't really, you know, face us. But I think it's revealing the depth of today's session. This morning is becoming very deep, and sometimes we avoid reaching into those very deep emotions. I don't ever want to be in a hospital bed hearing such a thing from my child, but, you know, to know that I'm capable of in the event that such a thing is what your words teach us this morning. And moving away to the lighter side of your presentation, if you listened carefully, and I like your approach, you know, and this is only to be expected given your expertise, but you sort of give us an outline of the different phases of, you know, the cancer journey, from the symptoms to the diagnosis to the treatment, the side effects, remission, new normals, right? And if you listened across all the phases, anxiety presented itself. Anxiety, it may change in the way it manifests, but anxiety, to tell you the role of the mind in all these phases. There's never going to be a point in our lives where our minds are not critical in how we overcome the requirements of every phase. And I think that's another essential I took from your very important talk with us this morning. So we thank you, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Well, continuing on that thread of let's finish with the experts, and then, you know, we now want to hear from, again, practically, in terms of how they walked the journey from the survivors. So your namesake walked in while you were speaking, and she reminded us when you were telling us the foundational meanings of your name, that she's also Toyin. She's a friend of the house. She's guided us in terms of knowledge and awareness that we should have in relation to cancer, and we're excited. She's very bubbly. She has a very bubbly personality. So she walks into a room and she effuses cheer and good, you know, vibes. So we're happy to have your good vibes with us. She may have to leave at some point, so that's why we also want to call her in. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go into your bio, which is a very impressive bio, but she's modest enough to also grant me that permission, right? We will share the bios with you, so if you want to dig into her bio after. But let's put our hands together for Dr. Toyin Aniagwu for her 15 minutes presentation with us. Thank you, and welcome again. And you're looking lovely again, so welcome.
Okay, we're still in the morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sirs, mas. I can see a few faces I recognize. I can see Professor Guni in the house, and I can see some of the friends that I've met before. I want to appreciate Pastor Ajuma again and her wonderful husband for having me again. The other time I spoke about awareness and some of the things that we need to do to get hold of a diagnosis early. But this time around is what comes with the diagnosis. It's a pity I missed Dr. Michael's talk, but I know that I will get it after. What I met when my namesake was speaking is part of what I also have prepared. It's as if she took a peep into my preparation. I actually tried to put my thoughts together so that I can flow, I can speak to certain situations that I will relate to. When we were planning this, I guess we planned this together. When we were planning this, she had a lot of things on her mind. She had a lot of things she wanted to do, but we just had to streamline it and know one step at a time. After this, other things will come. And then we're talking about mental health. That's our concern mainly. Mental health cuts across all kinds of things regarding our lives, especially when it comes to cancer. You know, the word cancer is, when you see the cancer in drawing, what does it look like? What do people use to represent cancer? Crab. It's a crab with the arm like this, you know, with everything, like it's going to catch you, it's going to hold you, it's going to pinch you. And that's what people have in their heads, that when it is cancer, oh God, that's the end. But what we want to talk about is the fact that even when it is cancer, there is still hope. That's what Dr. Odonye just spoke to us. So I'm not going to dwell so much on some of the things she has said. I will just relate them to some of the experiences. I'm a nurse. When you hear the doctor, I am a nurse. Although I'm a public care specialist, I'm a public care practitioner as well. But that nursing thing in me makes it maybe an advantage for me to actually work closely with patients. I started working with patients in cancer care since 2001. And when I say working with patients, working closely with them. I don't switch off my phone. They can call me in the night. Somebody will just call, Auntie Toyin, they said I should do something. I just remembered I didn't tell you. It is part of speaking up that we talk about. And the listening ear. Sometimes I don't even have an answer. I don't have an answer, but I just listen to them. And after listening, I give, a summary of what they have told me. And then we'll try to look at the options together. So I'm going to just run through this. We know that a cancer diagnosis affects an individual's mental health. Not only the individual, even the family. Not only the family, friends are affected. Not only the friends, even at the workplace. Because when this individual has to go for investigations, has to go for treatment, has to go for all kinds of therapies, somebody will be doing their work. So it impacts on our whole life. It cuts across all the phases of our lives. So it is very important that we talk about it. And the issue of anxiety, it cuts across in all those phases. Anxiety, distress of different levels. Sometimes nose diving into depression. Sometimes coming up, sometimes going down, and it's like up and down all the way. But just as I have heard that we've been told that we have to take our own decisions because our lives are in our hands. Our lives are in God's hands, but the decisions He has given to us to make. So now we talk about early detection. Yes, now these days we find out that people are actually getting to know that they have cancer by the awareness going all over the place, social media, electronic media, whatever media. And we see that people are now coming up to say something is wrong. They want to know. But the problem of people who are supposed to make people, individuals make decisions early because of their own attitude. Recently, somebody came from Ekiti to see me. I have people referred to me from PHC centers and some secondary health facilities where I've had some trainings, and then I will navigate them to wherever they should go within the hospital. This woman came from Ekiti. The daughter brought her from Ekiti. She said when the mother started complaining of a lump or something that felt like a lump, she asked her to go to a doctor, which she did. But because they felt it didn't look like a lump that the mother felt, they said, well, maybe it's something like an infection or something. So she started taking augmentin and some other antibiotics until the daughter insisted that she should come to Ibadan. And the woman came to Ibadan and we looked at it. Oh no, this looks like breast cancer. And you can imagine what that means. The woman broke down and she cried, and then the question of what next comes. This is the reality. It is normal to be distressed at the diagnosis of cancer. It's normal. It is normal. It's a normal feeling. But after the diagnosis, what follows is what we are talking about. How do we walk that journey? How do we journey it right? How do we get the options right? How do we ask the correct questions? How do we act on the correct answers to the correct questions? You know, some people ask correct questions from people that will give them wrong answers. So it's very important that correct questions are asked at diagnosis, not questions like, why me? Although it will come. Why should it happen at this time? When can it not happen? I'm relating from experiences I've had. Who did I offend? Who threw the arrow? Those questions come. Actually, we've had studies that documented that, and we've published that will show that it is you can't tell me anything. It is an arrow. But you can't change people's opinion. You can't change their perceptions. You just need to steer them towards the right decision making. And so when eventually they decide to take the decisions, we need to tell them the nitty gritty. That's what I have done with patients that I've related with. I know I really can't count how many patients I've had to break the news to after they have come to see their doctors, and then they ask to go see Auntie Toyin. And then I will have to tell them what happened, how it happened, what they are feeling, how is it that they are feeling it, and all the things that they have come with. So now people go to different screening centers. These days we have different screening centers all over the place, even in Ibadan. We have different screening centers. And then they come with the result, which they don't understand. I'm happy that Professor Ogunbi is here, that you see things written in the pathology reports and people don't understand. But we will then have to tell them what it means, because you have to know. Anyone that has been diagnosed needs to know. It's very important that we have information, because information is power. And then after knowing this, what do we do with the fear, the sadness, the anxiety? What? Do we just push them aside, or do we just come to live with it and then we say, Sarah? No. The fear that comes with cancer diagnosis, treatment, screening, all the kinds of things that people have to do is a big problem. But this fear can actually be handled by the individual. Not only this individual, by support networks and support systems that this individual has. So that's where the clinical and community support that are put together came from. Professionals in the hospital, professionals in the healthcare institutions that individuals with cancer go to, then have to be those that understand this process. If they don't understand the process, they will add to the problems of the individuals that are dealing with cancers. And when we say survival, when does somebody start to survive? Is it after the old treatment? No. Survivorship starts from when cancer is diagnosed, because it is at that point that this person makes up their mind whether to live or not to. And at that moment, when they make up their mind to live, then the options that are presented to them will be taken care of. I know I don't have much time too. Now I want to speak to myths and misconceptions. Dr. Odoye said some things about myths and misconceptions. A lot of that we have in Nigeria because we're Africans. It happens in other African countries too. When people will say, because somebody has had cancer, we have to ostracize them so that we don't contact the cancer. Is cancer contagious? No. Although we know that there are some cancers that the cause may be of infectious origin, but cancers like breast cancer and some other solid tumors are not contagious. I'm drawing from my relationship with patients and their relatives on different studies and different interactions. There was this study on genetics that we were doing, and a particular man came to us to ask a question, but he didn't want his wife to know. So I followed the man out of the consulting room, and he said, "Auntie, please, I want to know, now that she has cancer, can I get it from her?" So I didn't say no right away, and I didn't say yes. And I asked him, "Why do you think you can get this cancer from your wife? She had breast cancer. So why do you think you can get it from her?" He said, we thought we will sleep together, or I should not sleep on the same bed with her. And I know that it's a deep problem. If her own husband feels like that, it's a deep problem. If the man feels that he shouldn't go near her, then what happens within the household? What happens within a circle of friends? What happens at work if she has to tell someone she has breast cancer? That may be one of the reasons why people just hold it to themselves, because they don't know what you and I will say or feel about them. So support starts from home to the hospital. From the time the woman feels something to the time they go to the hospital to do screening, diagnostic or otherwise, to confirm a diagnosis, and then to start the treatment. Support is a continuum. It continues, just like we have the cancer continuum itself. So it's important that we understand that anyone with cancer, whether cancer survivors are here or their relatives are here, everybody is involved. Everybody, every one of us is involved in the support that we give to them. I know that there are organizations, maybe people want me to talk about organizations like, no, Brecan is here. I'm not sure if they're here. Brecan is here. Sometimes ago, I did some work with Brecan at Palm Mall some years ago, and I've been doing some other thing with some group of NGOs. Or Patella. I'll mention Patella because I know that they are prominent in UCH. There are so many other foundations, so many other organizations. But if the support is not from us, clinical professionals, and home, friends, and families, these individuals will not get the support that we want to get from the community networks. So what I'm saying this morning is that all of us are involved in supporting any come there by speaking up and having a listening ear. A listening ear will help to lead to the next thing to do. I'll round off in 1 minute. There's something that I said about genetic counseling before. I just went to genetic counseling. Along the line, this came up. And we realized that it's causing another level of anxiety, because people test to know if they actually have inherited some genes that could be responsible for the cancer they develop. And what do we find? They keep calling me. When is the result coming out? What is the result? Am I positive or negative? What happens if I'm... After we've done the pre-counseling. You've counseled over and over again, done the pedigree, shown how the relationships are, and yet the anxiety level is really, really high. Because nobody wants to pass that down their generation. But what if it happens? What if? That's why we always talk about Angelina Jolie, who, when she realized that a mom, a grandmother, had genetic mutation and had some ovarian and breast cancer, she also went for a test and she discovered that she had both mutations. So she took a decisive step by having a surgical prevention. I know that is extreme in Nigeria, but she did. And today, I'm sure all the young people in the house know who Angelina Jolie is, because she's very successful in her career. So we can live our life and live it best even with cancer treatment, having overcome cancer. Now, lastly, I'm going to leave in the next 1 minute. When we have battled cancer and cancer seems to be gone, should we just relax and say, okay, let me go back and be... It's a new normal. She has said that. And what does the new normal mean? That we have to then guard ourselves, be more active if we have not been active before. We have to then guard what we eat. If we drink before, you know that this is a time to quit. No smoking. And even if someone smokes, this is a time to quit. No negative feeling. That is very, very important. Negative feeling. We need to have good, well, she said I have positive vibes. We must all have positive vibes, because with that, it helps our inner mind to continue. And the more we continue, the more we live. And so I'm going to leave up with this summary that not only breast cancer, but I related to breast cancer patients can receive support from a variety of sources, starting from their own home, going to the hospital, back to their home, to the workplace, and all around them in the community. There are a lot of support groups around. We can leverage on all of this. And I tell you, the journey becomes better when we have support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together for her again. It was such a short time and she had a lot of information to unpack for us, and thank you so much for doing due justice to your presentation. I think I like the element of really exploring the myths and the misconceptions and how they shape, because at the end of the day, our beliefs, the beliefs that we harbor, cause us to reason in a certain way and to reach certain conclusions that shape our actions and define our lives, And it's not only in cancer, it's in everything. What I believe will determine whether I'm good at math or not. If I believe I don't have an aptitude for math, then I will I'll fulfill that self-prophecy. So I like how you walked us through. And why I also really, really appreciated that angle was, how even at the beginning of the session, we talked about stigma and why am I hiding the fact that I have cancer? For the first time, rather than even take a sort of judgmental approach to people who stigmatize, I'm understanding. Because look at that husband. I think the foundations of his fear lay in the notion of him contacting it. So it's not that some people, when they stigmatize, it's for fear of kachamo. So these are things we can counter with information. And I know that I shared how somebody in a conversation said cancer is toxins. So that conclusion came from sort of a more judgmental, like their lifestyle choices, expose them to the disease. Some other people think that cancer is your repercussion for past wickedness. Some people believe that person was very wicked. And so this is, nemesis or what, so it's interesting, the foundations of the beliefs that shape the stigma. And the interesting, paradox is how it affects the victim or the person diagnosed. So they then want to hide it. They then don't want to make intelligent or I want to be careful with my words, to accept the recommendations of the experts, because these other things are conflicting in their heads and, influencing their outcomes and their decisions. What I've got at the end of the day is that the most critical weapon is information and knowledge. It's the foundation of this other, it's the most critical weapon. So we're really doing solid work here this morning. Now, we're really, really not doing very well on time. And we want to make sure that, even if we don't close at 12:30, at least at the margins of 12:30. So maybe let's look at 12:45 at best. So we're not kicked out of here. So we're going to take our final two speakers, and instead of having a moderator-led fireside, we're going to open the chat, the panel, up to the audience. So just be gathering your questions. I didn't acknowledge the online audience, but we have an online audience. They're participating very avidly. They're sending questions already. We've received some questions already. So similarly, please be noting your questions, because when Ms. Iwalade and Auntie AJ share their own presentations, then we'll just invite all of them up together and we'll just have an interaction with them based on your questions. The questions are already coming and they're quite exciting already. Now we have the exciting opportunity to listen to the woman with the beautiful poetic name, Iwalade Orimi, who is the creative in the room. Let's put our hands together for her. She's a survivor, 6 years and counting also. So in 15 minutes, please kindly share what you have for us.
Thank you very much, Ma. Dr. Elizabeth said something about some people not wanting to tell family. God, I beg you, I was having marriage issues, domestic violence, and I will not tell my children. You could day. I told my children, my first was 6 then. She was my nurse. She will be want to remind me, Mommy, doctor say white drug is in the morning, because she didn't know the names. Mommy, doctor say yellow one is one, no, is in the evening. So imagine I didn't tell her. You could date. Anyways, you keep saying that my name, so let me bugas small. The full name is Iwalade Orimi. Yes, and yeah, my girls have that kind of names. The first one is Aridayo. We changed it, actually. I changed it after the whole cancer thing. Yeah, I see them and I'm happy. So legally they are Aridayo and Ariduno. Yeah, my dad was a philosopher, truly. So yes, when Auntie called me, she told me I would be speaking on the emotional aspect from the side of a survival. So I'll be using most of my experiences as the focus to speak today. The major question I used to get asked is, how did you cope? I hear that a lot. How did you cope? So in 2 minutes, we're going to do an exercise to show how I coped. Sorry, media, there's a sound. I know there's a tiny sound coming on, backgrounds. Can we have silence? Thank you. So everybody's going to do one thing now. In 1 second, you close your eyes, and I'm not an expert at meditation. You both are the meditation experts. I'm not an expert, but this is a personal thing I did, and I tell people, and it works. So close your eyes, clear your mind, forget whatever troubles you have that you left at home or you brought here today. Now think of something you really, really want. Maybe it's 5 million in your account, or school fees, or house rent, or even if it's the next meal. What do you want? Now imagine the feeling you will have if you had that thing this minute. What feeling? Imagine that feeling. Now enjoy that feeling. Let it come out in your face. Enjoy that feeling of having it now. Thank you. Open your eyes. Thank you, Ma. You were the first that did what I thought everybody was going to do. She did it. You are smiling. Nearly everybody smiled. Nearly everybody. So now you see where that happy comes from. When I was going through the whole journey, I didn't have support in my spouse. We were having issues normally. I was already being battered. But I assumed that when cancer came, something that bad would, miraculously just make him fall back in love with me. I assumed. It didn't happen, but I assumed. Yeah, I did. So I will send loving messages like, okay, I'm the one, it's my fault. Just love me back. Because I didn't want to be alone at that time. Thankfully, I didn't dwell on it too much. When I saw that he wasn't really there, I switched afterwards. The exercise we did now is what I do and what I did then. I think of what I want, what I desired. I feel it. I speak it. Then I appreciate. My girls will say something, Mommy, you're too berry. Because I will sit down, imagine it. It could be food. It could be money. And afterwards, I would start appreciating as if I had it already. Thank God, do. Almost, I will have this money now. Yesterday, when you told me I was going to speak, I would not lie. That day, we were having house issues. In my mind, I'm like, me that don't have house. You're telling me to come and talk about my journey. Yes, I love talking about it. I had a radio presentation immediately afterwards. I love talking about it. But I had issues. Then yesterday, I was like, how would I get here? No transport fare. So yesterday night, I nearly sent a message that, I think we'll cancel my coming. So I did that exercise again. I just imagined, even if it's 10K, I wish I'd be here today. Which brings me to what Dr. Michael said. He imagines a matric number. And it happened. It truly, truly works. I imagined if I was going to have transport fare today, how will I be happy to be the first one in the hall today? And yes, I left home later than I was supposed to leave home. I got to the junction. I was still looking at my account. Alert never dropped. I wasn't expecting alert from anybody. It's not like, but I was like, alert never dropped. I got to the junction and I saw a church member like, what are you doing? I was like, this is my area. Okay, I'm going to Ring Road. At least you pass through Iwo Road. I didn't say I was going to Ring Road side. So we entered the car, we're gisting, we're talking, and I was like, yes. And she said, Mommy Demi, what's up? I said, I saw alert. Thank God. I could not tell her why the alert was important. I came here before anybody because that was my desire. I got this thing from a book. The title of the book is The Secret. I don't know if anybody is familiar. I got it from that book. Think it, feel it, speak it, appreciate it. Imagine you've had it already. It works for me. When they told me about cancer, that was what I did. I didn't think of, cancer today. No. I enjoyed my suya and gari. I enjoy it even more now. The suya was peppery. If you know General Gas, you know General Gas suya, that their suya something else. I enjoyed it. I didn't think of, yes, cancer is bad. Forget anybody that says cancer is not bad. It's like, it is bad. I didn't think of how bad it was. I didn't think of my spouse. I didn't think of the fact that I had no money to treat cancer. I didn't think of whether they were dying from cancer or not. My first thought is, what's going to make me happy? And that was what I did. Now, I told her that one of the things I do, apart from awareness and all of that, apart from advocacy, is patient support. I talk to women that are going through the cancer journey. This dressing is my good girl dressing. I'll be frank with you. Whenever I go to talk to those women, I try to dress as scandalous as possible. Now, this is the reason. When I started doing that, when I go to them and I'm talking, and they'll be like, Kole ye, because they see me looking like everybody else. They'll be like, Kole ye. So every time I go, I dress scandalously. I like the fact that when I say that I'm a survivor, I like the look on their face. They'll look, thank you. They look at me again like, okay, so you survived and you're like this. I just started growing out my hair. It was low cut before, one tiny earring, one big earring. I like that scandalous look. It brings that thing that survivors don't want to talk about. It makes us even larger than life. Makes us bigger that way, because we're big. Forget, we went through hell and back, we're big. It makes it bigger. It makes it easy for me to say what I'm saying now, to tell women this. What Dr. Michael said, your emotions are your own. Nobody owns it. My daughter will come and say, Mommy, my sister made me feel angry. I'll say, she did not make you feel angry. Yes, she did something that made you angry. But you decided to get angry. You decided to get angry. You decided to cry. You decided, it's your emotion. That ability to curb my emotion, to decide how I want my emotion to go, to be able to decide, I won't feel bad about this because it is my decision. It is. That thing is what has been able to hold me till now. Now, let me give you just a few of the list of what I've been going through. Yeah, I know there's this thing in Nigeria that women like to talk about our pains as if we are collecting bank money. You know, you've noticed that thing. When you say something, they'll be like, "Kilo ti ṣẹlẹ̀ sí ẹ." If you see what happened to me, thank you. I don't like that thing. But I'll tell you a few of it to let you know the gravity of it. Growing up, I come from a dysfunctional family. Very dysfunctional, but I did not know. I did not know narcissism until which year that we know. Narcissism which just became popular now. I didn't know that was it then. It shaped my life. I went to secondary school, and from GSS1 I was given contraceptives. I did not know. I was told it was anti-malaria, but it was contraceptives, Noristerat, which I learned has been banned in UK or US or something. Yeah, I was given Noristerat every 2 months for 6 years. You understand the gravity? For 6 years, I was given Noristerat. Doctors think it might actually be what triggered the whole thing. And after secondary school, I grew up in the kind of environment that men were high, women were hair. So when I was choosing my spouse, I chose the man that could fit that role because that was what I was used to. Men were there, we were here. So when marriage issues started, I tell people, I did not know it was issues because it was what I was used to. So when people were telling me, Koyeko man, I'll be like, how will he not beat me? I mean, how else is he going to communicate? So I thought it was my own issues, which is why once in a while till now, when a memory comes, I'll be like, oh my Jemmy. Till now it happens, I'll be like, damn, was I the one that actually coped with all of this? It was normal, and I just did not think it shouldn't have happened to me because of where I grew up from, because of the kind of mindset I had. I got married, the whole thing continued, and then cancer came. And when people say cancer is bad, cancer is happy for me, I will not lie. Cancer changed my mindset. Cancer made me realize I was strong. Not physically, no, I was strong because I like, if cancer did not kill me, ọkùnrin á pa mí, even if I get to heaven, God will smack my bum like, oh, wow, okay. Man did not kill you. Cancer did not kill you, it's man that will now kill you. After cancer came, shortly after I finished my treatment, my first daughter had appendicitis at age 4. The second one, around the same age, had the same thing too. Yeah, at that time, I had a lot of people telling me I should go to my grandma in the village, maybe it was, offer and all of that. Then shortly after then, I had it too. Right, it really felt like there was a force around the whole thing. And then shortly after again, I started bleeding and all of that. And then I went to the hospital and they told me that, yes, did you have PID? I was like, hey, but I treated it now because it was shameful. How can I tell people that my husband used to give me STD? As it was a constant thing. Constant. But yeah, I will treat it on my own because it was shameful to go to the hospital. In the hospital, let's be frank, they will say it's you. They will say it's you. So I never actually went there. So I was told that, oh, it has done all of this, and then there's maybe a hint of ovarian cancer. Long story short, I had to do a complete hysterectomy. Again, complete. That one daunted me a little. And when everything ended, my sister will ask me this, Kilo de te para yin? And I will say this, I tell her everything, I'll be like, I had one thing I was taking as anchor, and that's what I want to tell us today. If you're going through any health issue, find an anchor. My anchor was this. God didn't create me to just come, go to school, have a job, get married, be a mom, grow old, die. Nah, there's something he created me to do. Maybe I don't know it yet, but there is something. Now, if I give up and die, how am I supposed to know what it is? I am not proud of my mother. I want my kids to be able to say, that's my mom. Do you know what she does? Those were my anchors. I always imagined, what will it be to see my face on the billboard? And yes, I've seen it. I looked for anchors, things that held me down, like, I want to say these things. I want to experience these things. And that was what I held on to. When I was having the surgery of the hysterectomy, they didn't listen to me when I said spinal does not affect me. See me now, I'm a big woman. Sorry, I'm heavier than I look. Oh. If I tell you I'm 122 kg, yeah, I think I'm less than 120 now. Yeah, I'm bigger, I'm heavier. Now, I'm not a doctor person, you know, but when you're doing, I think weight should be considered when they're doing spinal, right? I told them, they didn't listen. So the moment they cut in, I yelled because I felt everything. So they quickly did the GA and everything, but it still wasn't strong enough. I still was feeling, so I was feeling it, but I could not talk. So I was feeling the pain, and this is where I'm going to. This is what I want to say, that your mind truly is strong. I was looking in my mind, like, where can I transfer this pain? Where can I transfer this pain? I was like, yes, my ex. He's the only one that hurt me enough for me to want to transfer. I have never caused him. I have never said it only. So that day, I honestly did not know I said it. It was after that my mother said, doctor came to her and said, Talonja ibukun. And my mom said, she asked that why. He said, Enikola, where are you? I asked the doctor later, and he said, I was saying, ibukun, for what you did, you will cry always. For the pain I'm feeling, honestly, I did not know I felt anger enough. Our minds are strong. Now, in my mind, I was not angry with him, because when people say, oh my father, I will be like, okay, if he comes back good, if he doesn't come back good, will I sit down and wait for it? I felt I was not angry with him. But when that pain pushed me, I realized I was angry enough. I was angry enough for me to say that if he was on fire and I had spit, wallahi ma threw down. That was how angry I did not know I was that angry. That is how powerful our minds are. And after during the whole surgery, when I said that, I actually didn't feel the pain, because I was smiling. Yes, I was told I was actually feeling like, oh more, I don't cause how powerful our minds are. Every battle is won or lost in the mind. Dr. Michaels also mentioned one thing about the aura, the people. I'll end on that. I didn't know how powerful that was. That is rather, that the people you attract, the kind of things you attract. I knew I attract nice things. I didn't know it was something I did. I just know that I like good things, and good things come. When cancer came, it reduced a little, because cancer is not being so. It reduced a little, but I'm back now. When growing up, everybody loves her. We love our mommy now. We love our mothers. If somebody say go and kill your mother now, even if your mother is the worst person in the world, you still think twice. My first brother broke up from the family. We didn't know why. He tried to stay away from all of us. My younger sister and I, we were still trying to be so sweet to my mom and all of that. Now, I'm not trying to diss my mom. I'm just trying to give you reality. It was just last year that I realized that systematically, after I left my marriage, she had really broken me down to the extent that I honestly did not feel like I deserved anything. If a good man, please let me say something. I'm not Mrs. So I'm a single woman. Before somebody will have relation, I want to introduce and they will know. I'm a single person. Please, Miss. Please, you now say Mrs. Is Miss. So single session. Am I session? Session and sessionable. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry. So for the past 4 years that I lived with my mother, she has systematically broken me down. She will tell me things like, please, are we all Yorubas? Do we understand Yorubas? She will say, so I was like, oh my, it's true. The moment a man hugs me and feels foam. So in my mind, when a man comes to ask me out, I swear that's the first thing I tell them. I don't have breasts too. I say it straight out. That's the first thing. Now, the men are not bad men, but imagine men, if that's the first thing a woman tells you, won't you be taken aback like, which one is my breast? That's the first thing I tell, because I was already prepared for him to reject me. So I was doing the rejection before he would reject me. Now, that one is there. Whenever I wanted to look for an apartment to stay alone, my mom would tell me, people will not be saying, that's how you could not stay in your marriage. And I believed it. I believed I deserved all the beatings. I believed I deserved all the humiliation. I believed it, honestly. She told me I was stubborn and all of that. And I did not know that she gave me situations to be stubborn. So I actually started believing, I felt I was stubborn, truly. So when everybody talked, I was on the defensive because I'm like, Mokuku stubborn. Mokuku stubborn. That was what I felt. And then recently, before I broke off, I actually physically broke off, emotionally broke off. She would say things to my children when she saw that she couldn't get with me. So she would tell my children and tell them that, she wish she had aborted me before. How she wished my younger sister was me. How she wish. So she would tell my daughters that. She would say all those ones to them, tell them that, this man that she was dating, your mother should have stayed. Why did she not stay with your father? So when my girls would tell me all of that, before I would tell them, because I thought they were telling tall tales. But when she told them the last one and told them that they should tell my first brother that they wanted to come and live with her, that switched my brain like, wait a minute. This woman destroyed me up till now. I'm still trying to cope with the trauma. Now she wants to transfer it. People will now say a good delay. It's not a good delay, it's just generational repetition. It's just a repetition. It's just a repetition. That was when I broke off physically, emotionally. To tell you how recent it is, the day you talked to me, I was coming from my house. I went to pack the last things in the house, my chickens. I could not do anything with the chickens. I killed them, 11 of them that day. I killed them and gave them out. That was how desperate I was to break off. Because I realized this. When I had cancer, she was away from me, so I could cope. She was nowhere near me. People didn't know I had cancer. Till now, if I say it, people don't know. My hair has always been on low cut, so it didn't really show. I tell people that I like my skin more now. I don't have hair. As in that hair thing has not gone. And it looks okay to me. She was nowhere near me, so I could cope with cancer. Now that she's near me, in the past 2 years, my life has gone down because I listened to her. I didn't listen to her. She will tell me, show lower, and my mind will be like, lower. Whenever I say I need money for something, she will not say, maybe you'll get business. She will say, but you are any point. And honestly, after then, I kept imagining people should be giving money. It never occurred to me that I could actually do something. I was waiting for people to give me money, so I'll ask this one, raise me now. And truly, I had people that were raising me, but it didn't give me the idea to do anything. I wanted to start tea business because I used to make a lot of tea during cancer. I wanted to start tea business. She was like, I stopped. Until I realized that she was systematically breaking me down. And then I called my brother and he said, finally, I can be talking to you all the time. So that was why he broke off. He realized it, but he could not tell us because until we realized it, we will fight him. And we might actually go and tell mommy that Benga broke off because of this. Now, where am I going with all of this? Our minds is a powerful tool. You can use your mind to tell somebody something. Like he said, they will say, I don't even know what I'm telling you. No, your mind just kind of told them. I do it for my girls. I do it a lot. If they are fighting and all of that, and I'm just tired, I've talked, and I kind of say it in my mind, the girls are calm, they're tired, the girls are calm, they're tired, and I honestly tell you, after I'm like, Mommy, can we just go and lie down? It might be coincidental, but me, I don't want to believe it's coincidental. It works for them. I didn't want to have the relationship my mother had with us, with them. And I worked on it. And now, they keep telling me, Mommy, Grandma thinks we will now leave you and go to her. It made me feel good enough to know that they knew that different. Because at the same age, I think I would have left. I think I would have left my mom since then. Because the house was not interesting then. But they felt that kinship with me. I used my mind on them. I used my mind on everything. Everything. Our minds are stronger than we think. Strong. I don't know what is stronger. They say love is strong. I don't think love is as strong as the mind. Because even love, you can will yourself out of love. I willed myself out of love with my ex. Because stupid girl, after the whole thing, I was still loving him. I was still carry picture, be like, I'm a fine boy. Fine boy. So yeah, I had to tell myself, I did have fun now. Love, I know love is strong, but the strongest force in the universe to me is our thoughts. Thoughts is like, all these sci-fi movies that there's this pulse that come out of these superheroes, these things surrounding them. That's how thoughts are. My father used to try to teach us. We didn't understand. He would tell us that I was sending good thoughts to you. It was a small thing, like good thoughts. If you good thoughts, I didn't understand. But looking back at his life, he never had one issue. He would just say, oh, when you're there, and yes, it would come. I do it now too. Oh, when you're there, it will come. It will come. Our minds can kill. Our minds, and I don't mean kill, I mean really, really kill. Because if you put your mind and say it to someone, and the someone is somebody that is impressionable, our minds can kill. Our minds can heal. Our minds can destroy our lives. And our minds can restructure our lives. Whatever you think of it deeply. Not just thinking, think of it deeply. Feel it deeply. Speak it out. And then appreciate. Be happy. Imagine you've had it already. And the universe will bring it out to you. It worked for me. And I'm sure it can work for everybody. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. That was deep. Very deep. I was just opening my Bible as she was talking, because different scriptures, were just coming to, I was just thinking, the Bible says, guard our hearts with all diligence, out of it comes the issues of life. To think that sometimes the issues that are created are, constructs of the operations of our mind. And then I was looking, I said, God, where people have, because as children, you're helpless against the foundational beliefs. The people around you have, transferred to you. And the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, it says it brings into captivity, every thought subject to the obedience of Christ. So where people, evil actors, agents of the demonic, just to derail destiny, have brought up vain imaginations, have raised up to hold powerful strongholds that are cancelling out purpose, destiny, the Bible has given us an answer. The Bible says, with the help of the Holy Spirit, with the knowledge of the Word of God, it says it's going to bring subject to captivity. So God is in the business of capturing those errant thoughts, of healing our minds, of deliverance. And ending that, I remember when I was in Nepal and I was with some women, all these Indian women, we did their red dots. And I asked what I said, what's this thing people used to put in this place safe? And she explained it. They call it the third eye. Because when you're talking about the power of, when you say, and even a leader, you say, women, you overthinkers. You notice in that culture, although in some places in Nepal, men wear it, but mostly women. They say women have the power of intuition. It's just tapping into the power of the woman's mind. They say you must cover the third eye. So that red dot is a cultural, concept that is created to cover the intuitive sense of the woman. It's a subjugating concept. But what it means is that when she was talking about the hospital, when she was transferring pain to that man, wherever he was, I just remember that story because it talks about the power. When you go through pain, and it comes from cultures that subjugate. Culture, so that they know, because the natural consequence of subjugation, is resentment, pain, and repression. So what they're not trying to do is that reaction to that oppression and blocking your powers and blocking it. So some of these things speak about subjugated classes, subjugated individuals, and her story just brought it back again. May we not be the oppressor, and may we not be the oppressed. But the Bible is in our hands to deliver us from the evils that have been figmented in our minds. It's been a powerful morning. We are going to condense, because Auntie AJ is the convener. She's had moments to talk to us in the beginning. She will have moments to wrap it up. So we're going to invite all of them now to the panel. Let's have a panel. Many of you have questions already, so put your hands together. Let our distinguished speakers, thank you so much for the powerful presentations and the thoughts you've shared with us to fight the other thoughts that we came into this room with, whether fears, ignorance, whatever, myths, misconceptions. Everything you've shared with us, including your personal stories, are, things that we're going to be able to go away with, to use to engage the war against cancer. Please have your seats, beautiful women and gentlemen, blessed amongst women. Put your hands together for them. So let's start the engagement. Let's quickly do this. We have at least, give or take, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. There are some questions that have already come up, but please, if you have questions for them, let's see your show of hands. Let's see your show of hands. If you want to write it, that's also very, very acceptable. Feel free to write it. But there's no way that you are not provoked by the things that have come out of this room. Thoughts have been provoked in you, and it might not be a question, a comment, a concern. No, okay, no, can you have that one for the audience? I don't think they have one, then these two will be for them. Thank you, Ma. So we have our first question from a member of the audience sitting here with us. Please put your hands together for her. Thank you, Ma. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Protocol duly observed. My name is Titi Ogunluse. Ajuma and I, we have come a very long way. Pastor Francis and I, we have come a very long way. So, yeah, Pastor Francis was my senior in secondary school. Ajuma's parents and my parents were family friends. So Ajuma and I grew up together, and we did the CBN journey together. But I was very greedy to leave CBN early. I left CBN 22 years ago. Yes, when CBN was very generous with the first set of batch of people to leave, and we were very, very buttered. So I left CBN, and I've been in the business world. And I'm really, really happy for Ajuma. I am sharing in this testimony because I think Ajuma, we worked this work together. So I am thankful, I am grateful, and I thank God for your strength, your tenacity, everything all through this process. And Dr. Michaels, you said something about mental health. There's a lot about mental health. Everybody has there's an ashiwere in people, sha. It can be negative, it can be positive. It depends on how you present the ashiwere. You know, some of us, I'm a very, very boisterous person. I'm a fighter. And I like the fact that, you know, this thing is coming up now, and a lot of people, they are like, shh, 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 don't tell anybody, you know. But you see, we just thank God for the awareness now, and I pray that we continue to have these kind of small talks, and you know, it will get larger, and people will be more aware of their situations and their surroundings, because a lot of things do happen to us and we do not talk about it, because you just feel, oh, it is an affliction. And you see, the church is not even helping. Oh, it's not my portion, it can never happen to me. Oh, I reject it, I throw it back, I throw it forward. There's a lot going on, and I just thank God for this initiative, and I pray that this initiative will continue to grow in strength, in leaps and bounds. And for all of you that have made wonderful contributions, Almighty God will strengthen you. His wisdom will be with you. And my sister, that testimony you shared, oh come you. Oh come you gidigan. You know, but we thank God. We thank God. And it is my prayer that I have taken something from here. I've taken something from here. Because when Ajuma mentioned it to me, I told her, I said, you gotta give us jollof rice. So if there's no jollof rice, we're not coming. She said, no, there is only asu and drink that will give you. I said, don't worry. That's the starting point. So the next one, Ajuma, is jollof rice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma. And I recognized you when you started talking. She's our TBN now, so you're one of us. It's nice to see you again, ma. Okay, we have another question or comment from Pastor Jayekwe. Oh, perfect.
Thank you very much. My name is Olatunde Ajayi, and should I say I'm Ms. Pastor AJ's mentee. One thing that I want to take away from the many things that have been said, because first and foremost, I must appreciate the fact that I'm able to make it. There are many reasons for me not to be able to come here this morning, but thank God we are here. Unfortunately, this kind of thing, I just was thinking within myself, because the truth of the matter is that we men too are suffering a lot. By the special grace of God, I had just gone through one, and it's not coming back. But I realized that while I was going through it, going to clinics, I found out that a lot of us came when it was, quote and unquote, late. Even for me, earlier on, I think about a week or two ago, I was looking at my Google Photos and I saw some pictures of November last year, and I said, "Kini itin share lati gbayi now?" And I didn't know I was actually manning it. Constipation. I'm okay. I remember we went for a reunion about this time last year, and I was in the midst of my friends who knew me, and they were saying, Tunde Oro, Shekosi. In fact, a friend's wife had to go and meet my wife in her room and said, Baboko Waru, I'm watching my weight, I'm cutting down on things. Apparently, Monkuloni. So, I'm saying this to say that the next edition, I beg, Emma Quimber's cancer, so that it will be all inclusive. And thank God for the people that had spoken. The truth of the matter is that we have malaria and we always say it. I can tell people, I'm hypertensive, so money blood pressure. Yes, blood pressure too kills. I don't know which one is even deadlier, especially the complications of hypertension. But we can say all this. We tell people, money blood pressure, you understand? But why can't you tell people, I have cancer? And like everybody had said, it's a serious stigma, a societal thing. And I want this to challenge people that, look, it's not the end of life. It's actually how you make it to work for or against you. In the recent times, myself and Sister AJ were talking, and I said, I stumbled on one guy's clip, and he said, he was having a talk, and he opened it, he said, "Hello, I'm Jack, and I'm dying." Ha! Like Dr. Michael said, that line has stuck with me. Oh, see how brave this man was able to talk about his, and he's dying. Of course, by the time they released the video, he was dead. Anyway, he was done in his memory. But how many of us will be able to say that, hello, I have malaria, and it's likely to kill me? You won't say that about malaria, but you can say that about some other things. And people will be like, I think, like Mrs. Ogunlusi had said, one, our faith had not done so much. I want to say this now, that it is in this meeting now that I understand what faith actually meant. And I'm 54. And I've been born again since, I think, secondary school times. Of course, I'm back. you know. But here, and you know what it brought back to me? That movie Matrix. Ha! Oh, so this mind thing have this so much. All the things that they read, that we have been reading in the Bible, I can tell you Hebrews 1 to whatever. Faith is Oshe Yemi Sini. I'm saying this not to ask any question, because if I have any question that I would want to ask, I've collected the person I wanted to ask questions from. But ma, please, I beg you, Biko, no they call it breast cancer again. Let's call it cancer, so that maybe it will break our pride as men down and we'll be able to come in. Because I realized, in fact, there was a case that happened while we were attending clinic. Oh, I didn't know. I had passed out on my wife's leg and there was commotion everywhere. She said she was calling you, Tunde. I said, Monday alone. Apparently I had passed out. And they rushed me from the GI clinic to emergency in usage. But I woke up and I insisted. I said, no, don't transfer me. Take me back. I thank God for those doctors. They respected my opinion and they took me back. Said, He said, take him back. I said, I did not come for emergency. They are working on my blood pressure. I said, I know what I have. It is heat. They took me back. But one thing that I realized is, later they announced the death of one professor. I knew this man. We served together on some board with the government. We were seeing the same consultant. Like everybody had said, maybe there is a reason for me to survive it. But what am I saying is, could it have been that if this man had spoken up earlier, maybe, could it have been that if he had had this kind of thing, if he had had this kind of community around him, maybe. So, like I said, I think this is the third time I'm saying it. Let it be all inclusive. Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I saw her bobbing her head, so I know that she takes it. It's a very salient point that Pastor Ajayokwe has brought up. We need to invite, the more silent voices affected by this disease into the room. So let me bring up one of the questions that has come up online, so that, and I think Dr. Toyin, you might be in a, well, everybody can respond to it, but let's direct it to you. Somebody is asking, what if family and friends, because you deal directly, with the caregivers as well, what if they don't have the ability to support the cancer patient? And please, as you think of that concept of ability, bear in mind the economic ability, because it's a huge factor in this. Okay, you have in the equation as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. This question is very important. I was expecting it. Because we've seen many cases like that when families will run away from caring for the patient because of cost implications. I tell you, cancer diagnosis, treatments can be very expensive. Can be very expensive because it is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Even the diagnosis process, a lot of investigations to be done. Now we ask people to go do MRI, do CT scan, do bone scan, do all kinds of scans, do all kinds of blood works, all kinds of blood chemistry, and we know how expensive those are, especially now. Then treatment, different kinds of cancer, even if it is a particular type of cancer, but with different subtypes, different grades, different, name it. And all those different types will have their own regime of treatment, which will culminate into certain costs at the end of the day. So we know that this may be a problem that's actually may not bring about family support, because people feel they can't help, they just go away, they turn their faces. Now, if there are issues with cost implications, it is always the best to speak about it. We always encourage the patients to speak about it. Talk to your doctors, talk to your, now in UCH, there is psycho-oncology. Talk to psycho-oncologists, talk to psychologists, talk to the nurses. There are different organizations that we can refer people to. There are different funding platforms now. I know the government at a time had a particular one that consultants can actually enter a patient for. I'm not sure if it's really working like before now. And there are still other venues, other means by which people can support. So because of that, we're not going to do anything. It is good to talk about it. When there is opening up from the concerned people, then options of what they can do can then come to them. I hope I've answered the question. Maybe we have one or two persons that want to say something to it again. Dr. Mike?
They will have a chance. They will have a chance to add, strengthen. But thank you. I think you did, you gave some clarity. So there's a lady with a question, then I'll come to you with your comment, Mr. Blessing.
Good afternoon, Ma. Good afternoon, sirs. My name is Yetunde Akimbo Ade. I am one of Mrs. Madojemu's office babies. And I'm going to start by really thanking God for her life. I found out through another of our baby that happened. And I think the first thing that came to my head was it could not be a function of lifestyle, because I knew that I know the way she eats, I know the way she lives, like to a large extent. I think that was one thing that surprised me. When I told her, I was like, I was so scared. It was just one of those things. It's going to go like kilo shele. But and I thank God for that faith that I had with her. And now that brings me to myself. In 2014, I think I was give or take 22, I felt a lump in my breast. Then I went to meet my mom. Like, Loruko Jesu, like, this is not a Loruko Jesu situation. Let's go to the hospital. It took a year for me to drag her. A year. Then it was benign as at then when they tried to extract the fluid and get it tested. Okay, I want this thing out. I'm not talking about parents, doctors, people we should trust with this information. The kind of way they try to make you be like, it's not that much, manage it. And I got it out in 2019 from 2014. Like, I'm angry. I'm not talking from a place of sadness. I'm actually very, very angry, because if it was cancerous, at 22, it was young enough for me to have discovered it. But getting the support to get these things out, I think these things need to be talked about more in the age bracket. It should not be, because even a lot of tests, they will tell you it's only certain ages that can get it done. What if it was more than that? Then let me go to the third one. The person that spoke, the last speaker, I really, really appreciate your courage to step out of the situations that could have even killed you earlier than the cancer. So I thank God for the grace in your life, and I pray that you meet Mr. Perfect for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having the courage to, be vulnerable with us. God continue to keep you. You will fulfill your purpose, and it will not be truncated. Your destiny is bright, and it will bless the world in the mighty name of Jesus. While she was speaking, a question also came in. Let me direct it to Dr. Odonye. And somebody is asking that, is there research around, and it also even points to the presentation from Ms. Iwalade, because she talked about some of the possible connections between the contraceptives that she was introduced to very early and the cancer. And this person is asking, is there a body of research that shows that cancers can form from infection? So I don't know how much time you can provide some clarity on that.
Okay, so cancer infection. Yeah, Dr. Oluwatoyin did mention something like that. There are some cancers that come from infection, but not all cancers, right? even certain cancers in childhood are from infections, but not all. Let's take an example of cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is one cancer that starts with human papilloma virus, right? And the human papilloma virus is sexually transmitted. The woman, it doesn't have signs and symptoms, right? But when it stays in the woman for so long, it doesn't cause cancer in a man. It doesn't cause him to have prostate cancer or anything. But it can cause the woman to have cervical cancer if it stays with her for a while, right? And so when she now screens, eventually she comes, you know she has cancer. So it could come from that. But the cervical cancer itself cannot be transmitted. It's not contagious. And so the bottom line is there are some cancers that have their origin in infectious diseases. An example is even HIV. There are some cancers that have their origin from having an HIV infection. So yes, there are certain cancers like that that may have their origin in infections.
Thank you very much, Ma. Mr. Blessing, you had a comment? Mr. Promise, you have a comment?
Thank you very much. Let me start by appreciating the speakers. It was eye-opening, and I think here in Ibadan we should do more of this. A lot of these things go to Abuja. I got tired of Abuja, and I told them last time I was there, I said, look, we have to start replicating these things at the state levels. We don't converge every year in Abuja to speak the same things. No, we have these things. So we need to do more. We really, really need to do more. And of course, the gentleman who spoke earlier, I feel your pain. And I think we realized that in Brekan and had to come up with a flyer that merged breast, cervical, and prostate cancer because we got all those accusations each time we go out. Why breast? Even though men also have breast cancer, but then it's quite minimal. So yes, we need to, because we as men, we have a very bad medical culture. You know, in Africa, your concept of being a strong man is when you don't show emotions. You know, if someone close to you dies and everybody's crying and they tell you to be a man, like the person is not as loving to you as those other people. And the man is dying within. And sometimes cry can be therapeutic. I mean, let it out, and then at the end of the day, the person who is not crying is actually feeling more pain than the person that is crying. So I thank you for advocating for men's angle to also be spoken of and heard. But when I was speaking earlier, there were some things I didn't talk about because, you know, we didn't have a full house. And that's the aspect where you, or I wouldn't say, I mean, we have medical doctors and we also have survivors, but there's something about using your experience to advocate for cancer control in Nigeria. There are lots of things that we need more survivors to come out. As a member, as Brekan, if we are going out there to speak, perhaps Brekan wouldn't have survived 27 years if there was no pull or the push from a survivor who, even if everybody was falling aside, would remember her story. And then when you come to our office, her story is everywhere, the boards, and then we look at it, and these things form the, I used to tell her, I say, you're actually the inspiration while we are doing these things. So it's important, because, you know, in life there are primary choices, accept as they exist, it's normal. Then you can also take the responsibility to change them. And when you do that, you know, at any point in time, you have the power to say, and which most of you have said, this is not going to be the end of the story. So we have to push these things. And then for us to do advocacy, which I must advocate because we are an advocacy group, it's important that you share your experiences from diagnosis, surgery, to chemo, to radio, to rehabilitation. And we must have to consider access to care. I'm glad that people are listening to this, and I'm sure this is documented so that we can also spread this. We have to consider access to care. We must consider costs, including distance, and even the promptness of, you know, you being attended to by the physicians. These are the points from where survivors need to speak. And you have to ask, are you satisfied with your experiences? And then do you want a change? That starts advocacy. So if I want to meet the governor of the state, for instance, because I know that Oyo State when it comes to cancer control, we are really, really crawling. If I want to go there tomorrow, I would want to go to him with a survivor who can share the experience of. I'm very much aware that Mommy AJ went to Lagos to assess care. And we have one of the foremost teaching hospitals in this state. Is a point of discussion. What has gone wrong and what should we be advocating for? And then what kind of change do we want to see? Who will help us to make that change? When we identify those people, and then we have to reach out to those people. And then, of course, I must encourage you. Please, don't hide and don't let others hide you. Not even your spouses. Very, very important. And don't ever feel inadequate or less of yourself. Don't let anybody bring you down. Very, very important. And don't be consumed with fear. And finally, never, ever give up. Instead, you should speak up, embrace your new status, flaunt it. Make sure, rub it on their faces. They will tell you that if my cloth is dirty and I know it's dirty, and I tell you it's dirty before you tell me, you have nothing to tell me. So flaunt it and become an advocate. This is a clarion call to each and every one of you that are survivors here. And then you must see yourselves as champions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Promise. We thank you for those words of admonition and how you've outlined them. So I think everybody has a point to take away from his, comment. Any other questions? I have two questions. The first I want to direct to Dr. Odonye. The second one, I think it's going to be shared between Dr. Michaels and Auntie AJ. And it's also stemming from something that Iwalade said. So the first question, Ma. I don't remember her name, but what's your name again? Yetune. Yetune raised a very salient point. She identified something, and the immediate people around her, from her mother, and even when they finally found their way to the hospital, the doctors or whoever, the first contact people they met with, did not encourage the exploration of that lump early enough. And when you listen to Dr. AJ's radio interview, she talks about how, Auntie AJ's radio, she talks about how perhaps if she had also gotten serious attention and response from the initial people she contacted, maybe the cancer would not have advanced in the months in which they just, acted slack. So what is to be done? Because I think the people who come in contact with us are some of, the best in the system. But unfortunately, the system you're not the prototype in the system. That's the reality. Sometimes we come in contact with other experts, and also the family factor. What advice, therefore, do you give people to be able to take their lives into their hands and then, meet other practitioners or experts? Please respond to that.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And I want to thank Yetunde also for sharing her experience, because it's when you share your experience, other people get to find their place within your experience, and even those that have not been there would know what's next step. Now, what happened in this case is that denial virus that cuts across, even from the family system to the healthcare system. So there's that sense of denial. And then the issue, even though now we are seeing breast cancer in younger ages, it is not still a typical thing to see breast cancer in 20s. We are seeing them, but it's not like the norm to see. And so there is that tendency to want to deny, to want to say, no, it can't happen to this young girl. And especially maybe because of the thoughts about the implications, the series of treatments and all of that would go into that. But the fact still remains that this is my life. This is your life. And so whatever decision you make goes a long way. At 20 plus, you're an adult. That is just realizing that at 20 plus, I am an adult. And I can take certain decisions with or without my parents' support and agreement. And so one thing you can do is walk to the hospital and ask questions. And so if you've never been to a hospital like UCH before, I know sometimes it can be daunting, overwhelming, and all of that. That's where do I start from? but it starts from asking questions because you know you are at the center of this whole thing. Now, I can't blame the parents. I can't blame the system. Why do I say that? Our orientation, our belief system, and we are born into a society where we want to deny whatever it is we cannot cope with. And denial, I will also tell you, is a form of coping strategy, albeit it may be maladaptive, but it's a coping strategy, and that is just how they knew how to cope. And I can bet you that that mother would have had sleepless nights thinking about this issue and what it would mean. But going to the hospital will actually mean the diagnosis will be made, and she will be faced with the reality. And so I'm playing the devil's advocate here. But you, as the person involved, you must, because you are bold enough to have identified something, then just take the step, go to the hospital, and start asking questions right from the gate, from the security person. Where is the entry point here? I am certain when you get to a place like the outpatient department and you talk to 1, 2 resident doctors, somebody, they will direct you to how you can have a check done and other things will be falling into place. The first thing is just knowing that I am not powerless. I can make certain decisions. Even if you were younger, I have seen an adolescent male, actually. It wasn't a cancer case, and I was about closing for that day. And this boy walked up to my office and told me, I know I am not okay. My mom is not listening to me. It was in secondary school. I know I am not okay, but my mom is not listening to me. So he went to the emergency. The emergency asked him to come to our department. I had to sit down and listen to him. And so what I'm just saying is that you just taking the bull by its horn and doing what you know you ought to do, because it's your body and it's your life.
God bless you, ma. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for her. Thank you very much, ma. And it makes me think about the levels or the degrees of cancer control awareness and all that happening in our universities and even in our schools, our secondary schools. I think the takeaway is you are not powerless. So all of it, for all of us, this information, and it resonates with your starting message. We are the, what? Architects of our lives. So we'll key into that. And my second question then, it again stemmed from your presentation, Dr. Odonye, because you talked about, when you talked about the different stages, in the stage between the symptoms / the diagnosis, you talked about the massive fear that the individual, faces. And your words were, if you don't, deal with it, the cancer is not waiting. And if it's not cancer, then if it is cancer, it is not waiting. If it is not cancer, then you are suffering needlessly. Those were your words. So you said something key. That fear is there. It is normal. And your language was, fear should be handled. Now, in their different presentations, they've given examples of ways of handling fears. But I want to throw it to you now so that we go away with some practical, for instance, what Ms. Iwalade helped us do, in terms of a tool for the control of the mind, the imagination of the desired, the world we desire, the experiencing of the sensation before it has even come, is a powerful takeaway. And I know that many of us will start practicing it. Can you share with us? You also even said something about the power of a name. Maybe you begin to affirm yourself using your names. Dr. Michael, please share with us some examples in your practice that people can use to handle fear in terms of dealing with the mind. Okay, there's a mic with you.
Okay, so I will mention like 2. One is, we call it revision technique. It has 2 stages, but the mind automatically assumes the 2 stages by itself when you are calm. So the first thing you want to do is to be calm. We actually make good decisions when we are calm. It is when we are not calm that we make wrong decisions. So, if you are not calm, your mind works against you. Your mental health works against you. And then opens the door to village people. So because there can be no spiritual invasion without psychological vulnerability. So your mind holds the door. So let me start from what Doctor said, Oriki. I need to go and ask my mother what's the Oriki of our family, our household. But that's just on the lighter mood. But like, you need to calm yourself down with whatever words you want to use. You can use oriki, or you can praise yourself. I know we are used to praising God. And praising yourself is not like, you are not trying to dethrone God. But it's just appreciating yourself. So you discover that once you start praising yourself, and I have a particular line. Some of my clients tried several lines, and then they discovered one line. So you need to discover one line that helps you to be calm. And each time any auto-suggestion or any thought comes up that stirs up fear, just say that simple word. And you'll be amazed at, in fact, we were able to see people get calm, and then it takes away the memory of what has happened. That is one, like calmness. Number two is what we call Gavi. Gavi, G-A-V-I. Number one is gratitude. You are using appreciation. Gratitude. Be grateful to God for what he has done, and then for what you want him to do. Then be grateful to people. Over here, we don't say thank you a lot. We need to say thank you. Because there is no way a negative thought will coexist with gratitude. So gratitude. Then number two, the A is affirmation. You just have to say, be bold enough to say what you want to say. And my mother said, that word that you used to say, that you said affirmation, immediately that thought came up. I was looking at my mother like, I just said, no! I said, then my work is working in my family. So affirmation works a lot. Then two is visualization. Whenever you come about a thought that you say, this thing will make you cry, please just scroll up. It made you cry, and you want me to cry. So visualization, what you see. Some people will see an accident, and then they will stay there. They will look at it. As they are looking at it, the mind is recording it. I've lived 43 years. My mind has recorded everything I have tasted, I have seen, I have heard, and it has gone through my nose, and I have felt. So visualization. Then some imams said, visualization at imagination. I said, so you were listening. So visualization and then imagination. Imagination is just thinking. Your thoughts. We can't stop women from overthinking. So instead of overthinking on negative things, why don't you overthink positive things? That Rolls Royce, the lamp. No. Golden. Blue. No, let me browse more. So positive overthinking. So visualization is when if you want a house, you download. If the way you want your body to look, you can download it and then keep looking at it. It's also called vision board. Me, I don't have vision board, but I have pictures I've downloaded and I go through every morning. And it can even be your WhatsApp display picture and the rest like that. And I do it every day. It has to be consistent. The reason why it has to be consistent is it moves from the conscious mind, the brain, to the subconscious mind, which is the seat of our belief system. And it is our belief system that empowers God to be able to work on our behalf. If our belief system is against our prayer, God cannot answer our prayers. I tried.
You just gave us a medicine now. It's like we've just had a prescription and we'll go and start, the dosage once we get home. So it's just interesting how even the mind is subject to these techniques that operate like the human body takes drugs, Thank you so much, sir. And I see a lot of the things you said can be situated in everything he has said. I've listened to Auntie AJ several times, and I know her gratitude journal and some of those things. So, it's interesting how in their practical work, they are affirming, these techniques. But let's move to you now, and you share with us some of the practical things. Perhaps, they have been mentioned by him, but just practicalize your work for us as a guide.
Thank you. very early for me, I had to go to God. And thank God I did, because it kind of sets the stage for a lot of things for me. Like I've said over and over again, I started that year in COVID isolation with trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will direct your paths. And I didn't know why that was there, and it just wouldn't leave me for close to 10 days. It was later on, with hindsight, like, okay, this is what was coming. And so that was kind of what pushed me to keep, okay, this thing that's happening here, no. Oh, yeah. Go and disturb whoever you have to disturb. It's my body. It's easy for you to say, oh, no, it's nothing. You're not the one carrying it. I'm the one that's carrying it. I'm the one that feels it every time I take a shower. I want, So I had to get to a place where I knew that God was in that boat. And so many, all the things you're saying, I'm just amazed, because I look back at my experiences and truly it's like, yes, this is what happened here. This is what I did here without even realizing this is what I was doing. And of all, when you talk of visualization, for me, the picture that was always right in front of me was, the story in the Bible where it talks about Peter walking on water. There's a song by Twyla Paris that says, "Peace, be still." There's an ocean raging within me. Mostly the water is calm, but that once in a while it just, but that a voice inside me says, "Peace, be still," and the oceans obey. So I had that in my consciousness. Mine was just to enter His rest and watch Him do the job. There's a story about, I think she was an Israeli woman who, in the middle of bombing, they found her sleeping. People were worried that there's an old woman in the house, and they found her sleeping. When they woke up, she said, but the Bible says that He that watches over Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. So why should I be doing night duty when He's on duty? So it got to that point for me where I had carried my fears and placed them on His shoulders. So I didn't need to carry them myself. It was now, okay, someone else is doing the job. Now I have this time, what do I do with myself? And so I kept on looking for things to do. I even registered for an online course. I remember somebody said, is there something wrong with it? I said, look, if I don't feel it with those things, something else will occupy that space. And I don't have time for that kind of thinking. Let me put things in my brain that make me happy. I would decide one day I want to go and watch a movie. And when they're like, hey, are you sure you can, if you don't get up and let's go, I will pick this car and I will pick the keys and I will go. And if anything happens to me, pastor, no, we'll go, let's go. But I had to look for ways to make myself happy and not think of things that were not. Instead, I kept on thinking of what, again, these things. What are things you want to do? Which was, when you were talking, it was like, yes, that's it. What are the things you want to do? Make your plans. Start writing them down. Dream of the things you want to do. It was in the middle of in the middle of cancer treatment that I booked for the cruise I went for. I was like, somebody even said, I say I'm going on that cruise. And I have to be alive to go, so I will be alive to go.
one part of myself was focusing on, getting better, and the other part pretended, keyword, pretended to be who he wanted. He wanted the subservient, dumb girl. So I became that. Now I'm going to be really frank. The day I wanted him, when chemo was about to start, and I was like, I didn't want him around me at that time. He came home. He didn't go with me through the whole journey. And that was my first time of hearing of Kayamata. So I Googled, and I bought one tiny nonsense thing like this. And I gave him. And yes, he was sexually aroused. I got myself in that state of mind because it was already irritating. But I got myself to imagine, Denzel and Channing Tatum, fine boys, man. I got myself in that mode. I had good sex with him. It was my goodbye sex. So the next one was like, he had that mindset. So he thought he got me where he wanted me, and he left. And he didn't disturb me afterwards. Then I was able to focus all my energy on getting better. I didn't focus my energy on this guy now. No, because if I done that, the major part of me to get better was focusing on him. How am I supposed to get better? I will be drained. So that was what I did. I couldn't get myself out. So I found a way to get him out. I became who he wanted. If he called, I was the sweetest. Okay, my Bino. Why didn't you let my mommy call mommy? Mommy did not call me. I knew I was the one that blocked the mom. But I said mommy did not call me. And if they call, before, we'll lie now. Network. I made sure I broke myself into two. The person that left him and the person that was taking care of the body. Because if I hadn't done that, the whole of me would crumble. That was what I did. Now, afterwards, when I realized it wasn't working again, because, narcissist is not easy. It was not working. He came back. And when he came back, I got the energy to be a tigress. I realized what I was doing was not working again. He wasn't buying the docile, subservient girl again. So he started doing things that were, what's that? Gaslighting. I did not know that. If only I had known that. I did not know that was gaslighting. I would get angry, I would get this thing. And I realized that whenever I was getting angry, when I was getting upset, that was when chemo would affect me more. That was when I realized I would start feeling nauseous, I start feeling all the chemo effects more. So that time, I did more than that. I got someone that knew him, that liked him, that he would listen to. I actually paid them to make sure that every single day, they took him out. I just didn't want that energy around me. He didn't stay in Ibadan that much, so he walked. Now, for someone that maybe the person stayed in Ibadan that much, you feel, whatever you feed will grow. If you wake up every day like, but boy, it's today, he will day. That's the truth. But if you wake up every morning like, I'm avoiding you today, you won't even notice I'm around today. You see that somehow, is either he's busy or you will just not have your time, truly. That's just it. Wake up every day like, this guy, you will not have my time today. Even myself, I will not have your time today. And it works. For someone that maybe the man can, or the person rather, the influence won't be around it. And I did it for my mother then. Even then, I did not even know that was what was happening. I wanted her to be out. I wanted only people that were okay around me. And somehow, she had to take care of my dad. Then she had to take care of my sister. Then she had to go to Orioke. There was just something she had to do. So she wasn't fully there with me at that time. I only had people I wanted around me. And after some time, I didn't have anybody around me because I actually do love my company a lot. I talk to me a lot. Walade is an amazing person, forget. So, but that is just it basically. Focus your mind on you. Don't feed the entity or the situation or the person. Don't feed them. You feed them, they get bigger. They get attracted to that negative energy you're bringing out. Don't feed them. They are shouting at you, you smile. Smiling self annoys them. So that they will leave you and you focus your energy on whatever is going on with you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. I think that in itself is a separate conversation because I would have loved us to unpack it. We can't unpack it. But, I think as we leave, we can consider what does it mean to battle multiple emotional, stresses at the same time. from different sources at the same time, where the identity that is required for one is completely contrary to the identity that is required for the other. But anyways, we thank you for triggering these thoughts. It tells us that, there is a sustainability for these conversations, because we've even seen spin-off conversations in the future. I want us to put our hands together to just celebrate these giants, these champions, those who are championing, those going through it, and those who are going through it successfully. We love you. We admire you for sharing your story with us. We thank you. It has empowered us. We go away enriched with greater knowledge, information, and to deal with issues of life. It's not just cancer, issues of life. Everything you've said has prepared us for issues of life. So we thank you. You can exit now. On that note, I think it's been a lovely time. Thank you for your attentiveness. Thank you for, interacting with the speakers and the experts. Thank you for the experts who came from Brecan, Mr. Promise and the team. Thank you for friends of the Madojemus who are also here. Auntie AJ, you want to do a vote of thanks? Hold.
While that is going on, they're going to put up a form. There's a QR code. There's also a link. I have your phone numbers, so I'll probably say, tell us what you liked, what you did not like, what you shade that. And at the same time, before I give my, what's the speech called? Before I give that speech, I also want to announce that as a fallout of this and everything I've experienced up until this point, I will be starting a support group, not financial. Let me put it out here. I'm a pension. It's going to be for emotional support. It's going to be for spiritual support, where we can talk about strategies to renew the mind, to help the soul, refresh the spirit, refresh the soul, and probably educate ourselves as to ways to, strategies to just rebuild ourselves. So that is purely by registration. It's not an all-comers thing. You have to really want to do this to be part of it. And it will be, we'll be meeting on a monthly basis. So there's also a form. I'll send that to all the, to everyone anyhow. So if you're interested, you can sign up, and then I'll communicate start dates with you. So on that note, let me start by first of all saying I really would like to express my deepest gratitude. It's been a true honor to gather with each of you for the important conversation about mental health and cancer, particularly the challenges faced by those navigating breast cancer. Just particularly that, and I promise you that going forward it's not going to be just for us. It was because it was Pink October that this started. We just kind of moved into a different month. Now, first, a huge thank you to our incredible speakers. I mean, all of you, please help me give it up to them. Here I was worrying about this before this time, even getting to the point where you're not sleeping and then you start to have a running tummy. How is it going to work? But look at what happened today. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. The courage and compassion that you've shared with us today will continue to echo in our hearts. That is so true. I want to, and you today, God bless you for showing up. That was that kind. Who joined us today, both in you online. I was doing my thing here, but I have the record of all of you who signed. There's someone who's been monitoring it, and thank you all so much for joining online. Thank you for the great questions that you asked. They were really very, very pertinent ones, and they helped to kind of add value to the program. Thank you so much. Then to the amazing team who has helped put this together. You all know yourselves. Is it even amongst the speakers, let's start with Dr. Aniagwu was the first port of call. We started this thing. We actually had lunch together just discussing how we're going to break this thing down. Let me thank her. She just said, you can't wait until next year. You can't wait until next year to do this thing. You have a voice, you have to start talking. So that's how this started. Dr. Michaels pushed me. He pushed me to come out of my comfort zone and start to go online. That we're still working on that, but thank you for the push. I appreciate it. Then for media, CBN, you guys are just it. Thank you so much. For those who are doing the behind the scenes runs, helping to. Then to the love of my life, my forever boyfriend. I'm sure you know I couldn't have done this. It was like, so what's next? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? You have to put this one, you have to do this. Hey. So sometimes when you want to do things, you don't tell him. Because he would take you to a place you didn't even imagine. So thank you so much. And so, as we move forward, let's not forget that the journey doesn't end here. You don't have to have had cancer to do this. You've heard. Spread the word. Let people know it's not a death sentence. It's not. Thank God for Brecon. You guys are doing an amazing job. I mean, if you go to their office and you see the things, Mr. Promise, the stories that you've told me, I took somebody there on the spot. She said, I deal with teenagers. I have to register here because these things, you know, you guys are doing an amazing job. I want to say thank you. I don't know how I can help, but I'm also available. I'm also available. Mr. Promise, from the day I went there, I didn't know him before. It was Dr. Michaels that took me there. From the day I got him there, he's just been there for me. You know, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It just makes it all worthwhile. Thank you. I think I probably have covered. Well, okay. Finally, let me just say this. The conversation has just started. I like the feedback I'm getting. It means even work has just started at my end, but I thought I had retired. Work has started. If you help me fill, well, the form that has not been posted. It was, okay. From the feedback, we will kind of get an idea of what you want to see happening going forward. And I can promise you that we've started. And it can only get better. But we need to get the word out there. And please, speak out. Speak out. No, even if it's just a mosquito bite. And if your mentality is that they sent it from the village, don't let the bite stay. Speak out so that somebody can help you shoot it back to sender. But don't keep quiet. Like you've been told, you own your body. So take responsibility for it. Don't outsource it to anybody. You don't have to have all the answers, but it's your job to ask all the questions. Go to the right place. And you also have an inner guide. If it's the right answer, you will know. But don't keep quiet. If there's nothing you've taken up today, it's this. Don't keep quiet. Suspect anything that you see happening. And go to the places they've told you places you can go to. Please reach out. A word is good enough for the wise. A stitch in time, they say, saves life. Please, 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 look after yourselves. You have only one life to live. Live it to the fullest. And don't let anything, whether it's cancer or whatever name it's called, don't let it truncate your life. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. God bless you.
Yes,